Chapter 178. When the Nature Good Fortune pill was taken out, the battle consciousness little person and the 1,000 little taudai were like hungry dogs seeing a bone. They almost rushed out to snatch it. The refining method of the Nature Good Fortune pill was truly mysterious. At the beginning, it would not enter the spirit space like the spirit chi body tempering method. Instead, it would first stay in the body for a period of time, giving enough spirit chi to nourish the body. Then it would enter the spirit space. Once the huge amount of spirit chi entered the spirit space, Wang Sheng saw the 1,000 little taudai did not need his command at all. They all rushed forward, crazily swallowing this powerful spirit chi. What made Wang Sheng even more speechless was that even the battle consciousness little person joined the battle. The gray shadow little person split into 8. Using the various techniques that Wang Sheng had used before, it snatched the food from the large group of hungry wolf-like little taudai. As Wang Sheng expected, the Taoyia's swallowing ability simply made people speechless. The spirit chi that Wang Sheng felt was simply unstoppable in front of so many little taudai was simply a piece of cake. The little taudai opened its mouth wide, almost not even closing it. Facing the direction of the spirit chi, it was like a whale swallowing. Not even the swallowing movement could be seen. It was as if the back of the mouth was connected to the stomach in one go. The majestic spirit chi that was like the yellow river in front of the 1,000 little taudai did not even cause a ripple. The cloud paths in the middle of the spirit space did not even move. The spirit chi could not even rush into the cloud paths. It was completely swallowed. The spirit space began to absorb the spirit chi. Wang Sheng's body immediately felt a lot better. The huge amount of spirit chi was still pouring into Wang Sheng's body. Not only was it washing and nourishing, a large part of it directly settled in Wang Sheng's flesh and blood, settled in Wang Sheng's internal organs, settled in Wang Sheng's bones, and settled in Wang Sheng's bone marrow. In less than 10 minutes, Wang Sheng suddenly felt the pressure lighten. It turned out that the small piece of Nature Good Fortune pill in his mouth had already been completely consumed. Without the continuous supply of spiritual energy, his body immediately felt extremely uncomfortable, and the little taudai and the little person with the battle consciousness in the source spirit space had a completely unsatisfied feeling of hunger and thirst. It seemed like the little taudai was completely capable of withstanding the medicinal power of this level of the nature creation pill. Wang Sheng felt relieved. He opened the jade box once more, intending to swallow another small nature pill. However, this time, when he opened the jade box, Wang Sheng discovered that the medicinal power of the nature pill was slowly dissipating. Even Wang Sheng could clearly sense the loss of spiritual energy from his body. After discovering this, Wang Sheng's first feeling was heartache. Then, he gritted his teeth and placed the pill in his mouth without a care for anything else. Rather than letting it slip away like this, it was better to take a risk and let the little taudai deal with it. The reason why Wang Sheng wanted to complete the taudai transformation in the second transformation was to strengthen his source spirit's swallowing ability. Moreover, according to the legend of the taudai, this kind of thing's devouring ability was almost infinite. Since it was like this, why would he waste the medicinal power of the nature creation pill? Spiritual energy that was countless times larger than before poured into his body. Then, it settled in every part of his body, and then the rest rushed into the source spirit space. At this time, Wang Sheng's little taudai, as Wang Sheng expected, opened its mouth wide and spread out in every direction of the source spirit space. Each little taudai was in charge of a direction, swallowing this indescribably large amount of medicinal power. A soft popping sound suddenly rang out from Wang Sheng's body. A certain part of his skin had suddenly split open. However, before blood could spurt out, the split area seemed to have been patched up by some skilled craftsman, and it immediately returned to its original state. From this sound, Wang Sheng's body began to emit all kinds of popping sounds. Every part of his body was damaged, and then it was immediately healed by the surging medicinal power. At first, it was concentrated on the surface of his body, but not long after, Wang Sheng felt the same process occurring in his internal organs. The only difference was that the direction of the explosion was in his internal organs. His entire body felt like it was being cut by 1,000 knives. Even his internal organs were in the same kind of pain. But this kind of pain did not make Wang Sheng faint. The powerful medicinal power instantly healed his wounds. Even if Wang Sheng fainted, the medicinal power would immediately wake him up. After the flesh and blood, even the bones began to emit cracking sounds. The kacha-kacha sounds made people's hearts tremble in fear. This sound directly spread far away. Even several courtyards could hear the movements of Wang Sheng's body. Ice Li and the old shadow eunuch began to shake their heads. Wang Sheng was a good little fellow, but it was a pity that he was too greedy. Did he really think that the nature creation pill would completely cure his body's chronic illness? That's right, it was not a problem to cure them. But if he could not bear the huge medicinal power, he would directly explode and die. It was not only Ice Li and the old shadow eunuch who thought this. Almost everyone who heard this sound had the same thought. At this moment, Wang Sheng was the best example of overestimating himself. What a pity for that nature creation pill. Any random person here wouldn't be so wasteful. And in a quiet courtyard not far away, there were only two people who did not doubt that Wang Sheng could bear the medicinal power, but one of them was also shaken. Can he do it like this? Listening to the various sounds of Wang Sheng's body exploding, Linger could not help but ask, even if he can bear this kind of pain, doesn't he know that once the nature creation pill is separated, it will lose at least half of its medicinal power? For some reason, although Linger was always eager for Wang Sheng to suffer, at this time, she actually felt that it was a pity. Yes, it must be a pity for the nature creation pill, not a pity for that damn barbarian. He can do it. The one who accompanied Ling was, of course, Lu Wenho of the Imperial Treasury. He seemed to firmly believe in Wang Sheng. If he can bear the first medicinal power, he can bear the next one. You have to believe that he is not a fool and will never do something that he cannot do. But losing half of the medicinal power of the nature creation pill, isn't it too much of a pity? Ling would not oppose her young master, but she just did not want Wang Sheng to be well. Even if her young master firmly believed in him, she could not help but say some bad things about Wang Sheng. Such a reckless waste of God's gift. Doesn't he know that losing half of the medicinal power is very likely to cause his unstable foundation to be unable to be cured? Losing half, so be it. Lu Wenho slowly picked up the wine cup in front of him, slowly took a sip, and then said to Linger with a smile, "Did you forget that he has 2 nature creation pills? Even if half of the medicinal power of each pill is lost, it is equivalent to him taking a complete nature creation pill." Ling was speechless for a moment. She had almost forgotten that this barbarian had 2 nature creation pills. What's more, as long as he can bear the medicinal power of the first pill, his body will be more than half repaired. Lu Wenho laughed. At that time, maybe he will be able to bear the medicinal power of the second pill. Chapter 179. Who knew how many people were guessing when the small explosions on Wang Sheng's body would condense into a big explosion, causing Wang Sheng's body to explode into pieces. Unfortunately, this kind of scene was destined to never happen. The sound of Wang Sheng's body exploding was dense at the beginning, but it gradually became sparse. Finally, the frequency of the explosion slowed down and the sound became softer and softer. No one was a fool. When everyone heard the change in the sound, their first reaction was that it was impossible. A small cultivator who had just entered the first stage realm. How could he withstand the medicinal power of a good fortune pill? This was not logical, but such a ridiculous thing actually happened in front of everyone's ears. Although no one could see the current situation of Wang Sheng's body, they could still hear the sound. This was because Wang Sheng's breathing was becoming more and more stable. This did not seem like his body was about to explode. Could it be that this was another secret that Wang Sheng knew? Otherwise, why would Wang Sheng not want anything else but the good fortune pill? Regardless of what everyone thought, Wang Sheng was currently in a different mood. The good fortune pill was indeed magical. Every time his body exploded, It was the weakest part under the strengthening effect of the pill, which was immediately repaired. After the repair, the strength was definitely several times stronger than before. His skin, flesh, internal organs, and bones from the inside to the outside, from top to bottom, not a single inch was missed. Every part of his body had been strengthened. Although the pain was extreme, as long as he endured it, the benefits were obvious. Even Wang Sheng could feel that the good fortune pill had undergone an extremely detailed strengthening in his brain. Wang Sheng did not know how the expert who concocted this pill managed to do it. He was actually able to control the medicinal power in his mind and strengthen it calmly and precisely. It was not as intense as the strengthening of his skin, flesh, blood, and bones. However, Wang Sheng could clearly feel the strengthening process. Moreover, the strengthening process did not disturb Wang Sheng's consciousness. Just this ability alone was something that countless brain experts on Earth could not imagine for Wang Sheng. Indeed worthy of the good fortune pill, worthy of its name of good fortune. It really had the power of good fortune. Wang Sheng sighed in his heart, but his consciousness had already entered the source spirit space again. The little Taodai also made Wang Sheng sigh with emotion. However, this sigh was a pleasant surprise for Wang Sheng. The Taodai really was a monster that could swallow an unlimited amount of spiritual energy. Such a large amount of spiritual energy was swallowed by the little Taodai to the point that not even a trace of it leaked to the other parts of his source spirit space. Even the homunculus with battle awareness could only snatch food from the gaps between the little Taoye's attacks. It could not take the initiative. In the future, if he met that Dai family's 9-star source spirit, Wang Sheng did not doubt that his Taotai source spirit would be able to completely devour that source spirit. This was also the main reason why Wang Sheng chose the Taotai transformation for his second transformation. His body continued to strengthen, but Wang Sheng found that the medicinal power of the good fortune pill was still pouring into his spirit space. The little Taotai had swallowed an unknown amount of spiritual energy, and its body had already grown a bit bigger. However, the spiritual energy didn't show any signs of stopping. Wang Sheng's heart skipped a beat. Wasn't this the best time to manifest the conditions for the third transformation? But the problem was, which transformation should Wang Sheng choose for the third transformation? In his mind, he quickly thought through the remaining dragon child transformations. Wang Sheng chose the dragon child that he needed the most right now, the Swan and I. The legend said that the Swan and I was an extremely strong person. Wang Sheng believed that if he could complete the Swan and I transformation, it would definitely bring about a huge change to his body. The good fortune pill had already eradicated the flaw of Wang Sheng's unstable foundation. If he strengthened his strength, Wang Sheng's battle strength would rapidly increase in a short period of time. Compared to those experts, what Wang Sheng lacked the most was real battle strength. Without relying on the equipment that Wang Sheng brought from Earth, in terms of pure, close combat strength, there was no one more suitable than the Swan and I to strengthen. What did the Swan and I transformation require? Wang Sheng remembered that the Swan and I carried a monument. As soon as this thought came to mind, all the little Taodais simultaneously retreated. Then an indescribably huge amount of spiritual energy began to gather in the origin spirit space, once again turning into a large mass of white fog. Then there was a long period of time when the spiritual energy crazily rushed in. There was a vague change in the white fog, and the cloud path also clearly pointed in a certain direction. Wang Sheng understood that it was pointing in the direction of the Swan and I. After an unknown amount of time, the white fog finally dispersed, and a giant monument condensed from spiritual energy impressively appeared in the origin spirit space. There was not a single word on the giant monument. It was completely empty, only giving people a kind of incomparably heavy feeling. Looking at it, perhaps even the sky of the origin spirit space was supported. Such an indomitable spirit, it was clearly a pillar that supported the sky, and not just a simple giant monument. Below the heavenly pillar was a rectangular base. At this moment, All the little Taudais were surrounding the edge of the base, lined up neatly, and used their strength to support this giant monument that supported the sky. At a certain height in the origin spirit space, an illusory dividing line appeared. Wang Sheng understood that this required his own origin spirit Taudai to support this giant monument that supported the sky above this position. Only then would it meet the requirements of the Swan and Eye transformation. After constructing all of this, the origin spirit space violently shook and stabilized. Then boundless spiritual energy continued to pour in from all directions, and then went straight into the big mouths of the little Taudais. Splitting into little Taudais would naturally disperse the power. Wang Sheng sensed it for a moment, and then immediately fused the little Taudais into one. After the fusion, the strength of the Taudais really increased, and it forcefully lifted the giant monument by almost 1/10 of the dividing line. At this time, Wang Sheng was in the process of swallowing the nature pill, and it was not strange for any kind of change in aura to appear. Everything could be attributed to the nature pill, so Wang Sheng would unscrupulously fuse with it. The complete Tao Ye's swallowing ability was even more terrifying. It opened its big mouth, and an inexhaustible suction came from its mouth, swallowing the spiritual energy coming from all directions. In just a moment, the Taudai had turned from a skinny, strange beast to a normal one. It was no longer that kind of thin and weak. But the medicinal power of the nature pill had not finished. It was still accumulating in various parts of his body, transforming Wang Sheng's body, while also crazily pouring into the origin spirit space, into the Tao Ye's big mouth. It had to be said, the nature pill was indeed the nature pill. The terrifying medicinal power directly urged the Tao Ye's body to slowly become plump, and it still had an endless appearance. The Tao Tai was indeed a Tao Tai. This level of medicinal power, if it was the Qi one of the past, it would have already exploded from the spiritual energy. But now, after swallowing such a terrifying amount of spiritual energy, it only showed that its body was plump, and it was a bit stronger, nothing more. Before, Wang Sheng was worried that the big Tao Tai would not be able to withstand his spiritual energy and split it into 1,024 little Tao Tais. But now it seemed like there was no need. The big Tao Tai alone could deal with the nature pill. Chapter 180. The Tao Tai's source spirit frantically swallowed the medicinal power of the good fortune pill as it struggled to lift the giant monument on its body. Wang Sheng watched quietly from the side as the Tao Ye's origin soul absorbed spiritual energy and grew in size. At the same time, it lifted the huge monument inch by inch. The spiritual energy brought by the good fortune pill actually allowed the Tao Tai's source spirit to lift the giant monument high up. Wang Sheng watched helplessly as the giant monument rose bit by bit. It passed the line by 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, all the way until it reached the 4/10 mark. Only then did it slow down. At this time, the good fortune pill's medicinal power was exhausted and the supply of spiritual energy stopped. Finally, they could no longer feel the aura on Wang Sheng's body. The people who were listening to the movements in Wang Sheng's courtyard finally let out a long sigh of relief. However, they also had a deep doubt in their hearts. What method did Wang Sheng use to be able to withstand the violent medicinal power of the good fortune pill? He had to get his hands on this method. This was not only the case with the good fortune pill. Many other pills had similar problems. The medicinal effect was too strong. So many times the powerful pills could not be used. If they could obtain Wang Sheng's method, they would definitely be able to solve this problem. Just when everyone thought that Wang Sheng would definitely take a break and then check the changes in his body, Wang Sheng did something that no one expected. Wang Sheng directly took out the second good fortune pill. Before it could completely trigger the strange phenomenon from the first pill, he stuffed the entire good fortune pill into his mouth. The dark clouds in the sky only condensed a little before they quickly disappeared without a trace. Besides LV Wenho and Ling, no one expected such a change. Most of the people were caught unprepared and were all stunned. What is he doing? What does he think he ate? Countless heart-wrenching cries rang out from the surrounding courtyards. No one was able to accept the fact that a mere first-degree cultivator had consumed 2 nature pills in a row. Not only did one good fortune pill not explode, he actually ate 2? Was he crazy? Wang Sheng did not care about other people's thoughts. His mind was once again immersed in his source spirit space. Once again, the familiar surging spiritual energy flowed into his body, and the process of tempering his body began once more. The Tao Tai origin spirit did not close its mouth at all. Its big mouth directly turned into a huge hole, sucking in all the spiritual qi from all directions. Wang Sheng's body once again emitted a popping sound. However, the sound would only ring out once or twice. It was as if the first nature pill had not completely transformed him, and he had to start all over again. Wang Sheng did not care about this little pain. He was already immersed in the Tao Tai source spirit's wild absorption of the good fortune pill's medicinal power. His body would grow, and his strength would increase. The whole process was so simple, so direct, and so crude. It was just absorbing spiritual energy for no reason, and then the soul would grow. It was a faster version of the natural cultivation process. Of course, this was thanks to the nature pill's spiritual energy being more than 100 times purer and more than 100 times richer than the outside world's spiritual energy. The Tao Tai had already evolved from a skinny, malnourished monster to a normal, plump monster, and then it turned into a muscular monster. The Tao Ye's body seemed to have swelled several dozen times from its original thin and weak foundation. The trembling of the giant monument as it crazily supported it was very vivid. Quang, quang. Wang Sheng seemed to be able to hear the sound of the giant monument being lifted up in his source spirit space. Even the sky of his source spirit space was a lot higher than before. The Tao Tai source spirit's muscles were becoming more and more powerful, and outside, Wang Sheng's body was also showing the same situation. Without absorbing spiritual energy from the outside world to temper his body, the spiritual energy provided by the nature pill was more than enough to complete all of this. All the bones in his body were compressed twice, followed by his fascia, which swelled to more than twice its original size. Finally, it progressed to his internal organs. After the internal organs were strengthened several times from the inside to the outside, the strengthening finally reached the muscles. The giant monument continued to be lifted up, breaking through the line of 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%. It still did not disappear, continuing to rise. At this time, the Tao Tai source spirit had completely turned into a giant muscular monster. Every inch of its skin showed an incomparable beauty. This was the shape that could attract men's eyes the most, even if it was a goat-faced Tao Tai. The Tao Tai source spirit that was lifting the giant monument let out a loud roar. The entire source spirit space was constantly shaking. Following that, the Tao Ye's giant mouth opened. The nature pill that Wang Sheng had not completely swallowed and the spiritual energy had not been completely released suddenly turned into the purest and most primitive spiritual energy, forcibly sucking it into the source spirit space. The ball of spiritual qi broke through all the obstacles and charged into the source spirit space like a hot knife through butter, entering the mouth of the giant Tao Tai beast. Since Wang Sheng had completed the Tao Tai transformation, this was the first time that Wang Sheng had seen the Tao Tai close its giant mouth. The last spiritual energy directly doubled the size of the Tao Tai. Accompanied by a loud rumbling sound, the Tao Tai ferociously straightened its body, pushing the giant monument on its back together with the base over the boundary formed when Wang Sheng decided to carry out the Tao Tai transformation. Wang Sheng could not believe his own eyes. He had just completed the Tao Tai transformation and tried to swallow the nature pill, but the spiritual energy of the 2 nature pills had directly rushed his cultivation to the 3rd stage of the Tao Tai transformation. Countless spiritual energy from the surrounding space once again gathered in Wang Sheng's body. Compared to the last time when Wang Sheng had undergone the Tao Tai transformation, the spiritual energy whirlpool formed again, overbearingly engulfing Wang Sheng's entire body. The source spirit space was once again filled with white mist, and the image of the source spirit could no longer be seen. But Wang Sheng knew that at this moment his source spirit was going through another change from the Tao Tai to the Tao Tai. Once again, Wang Sheng's body became the target of the spiritual energies tempering. This time, all the spiritual energy was not targeted at one of his senses. Instead, it was focused on Wang Sheng's bones, tendons, and muscles. The Tao Tai was a strong man, so it could only strengthen his strength. Once the scene of Wang Sheng's increase in cultivation caused the spiritual energy to refine his body, the people outside were all stunned. Whether it was LV Wenho and Ling who knew that Wang Sheng could withstand the power of the nature pill, or the people who did not believe it before, they could not believe what was happening in front of them. How is this possible? Yesterday, he had just risen from the unranked to the first stage. How could he barely eat 2 nature pills today and unexpectedly rise again? If it was so easy to rise, then what was the point of everyone's hard work? Wasn't this too inconceivable? Chapter 181. Who would have thought that Wang Sheng would be able to raise his cultivation level again within a day? Who would have thought that? Even Wang Sheng himself had decided to stake everything on one throw after seeing the effects of the nature pill. Not to mention that others did not even know about Wang Sheng's situation. How could they guess? At this moment, Wang Sheng did not care about others. He continued to pay attention to his own body, enjoying the pleasure and physical comfort brought about by raising his cultivation level. The pain brought about by the transformation of his body by the nature pill disappeared completely under the tempering of the spirit qi, leaving only comfort. There had never been a day when Wang Sheng found that even his muscles could make a sound out of thin air. It sounded like a steel cable being stretched taut, which made people's hair stand on end. However, this tension did not bring about pain, but an unimaginable strengthening for Wang Sheng. For a moment, Wang Sheng even wondered if his muscles had been replaced with a polymer material. How could they produce such great strength and resist such a strong pulling force? No one disturbed Wang Sheng at this time. At first, many people wanted to get a second nature pill from Wang Sheng. But now, Wang Sheng had eaten 2 in a row. There were no more, so they simply gave up on that idea. They waited for Wang Sheng to finish his cultivation, and then they would ask him about how he could withstand the medicinal power of the nature pill. It was precisely because of this worry that Wang Sheng took the risk to swallow 2 nature pills in a row. If the scene of a nature pill's appearance was a little smaller, Wang Sheng would have taken one and rested for a while before taking the second one. Never in a million years would he have thought that the pill of fortune would be such a sensational pill. The moment he took it out, it could cause the skies to change color. With that, the pill of fortune in Wang Sheng's hand instantly became a path of death. He could either hand it over or eat it immediately. There was no other way. In any case, as long as the item was gone, those people would not have any thoughts about it, so they might as well not think about it. Of course, Wang Sheng would choose to eat it himself. There was no need to think about it. His bones seemed to be filled with spirit qi, and then the texture of the bones became denser. Then, various substances were extracted from various parts of the body to reconstruct the bones and compress them again. This process repeated several times. Wang Sheng knew that the increase in strength was not just limited to the muscles. The bones were the framework that supported the body and also the source of all strength. Strengthening the bones first was the correct order. After the bones, it was not the muscles. The fascia between the muscles seemed to have expanded many times, strengthened many times, and then condensed and shrunk. After the fascia was strengthened, it was the joints. A huge amount of spiritual power hovered and danced around every joint in Wang Sheng's body, making Wang Sheng feel a burst of warmth and comfort. The next step was to expand, compress, expand again, and compress again. Every part of his body that could exert force was taken care of. What surprised Wang Sheng was that after this experience, all the hair and nails on Wang Sheng's body had fallen off due to the compression of his fascia and muscles. Fortunately, it did not bring any pain, but after everything was done, perhaps Wang Sheng would have a headache. Fortunately, when Wang Sheng took the nature pill for the second time, he was lying down. Otherwise, after such a long time of torturing his muscles and bones, perhaps Wang Sheng would have fallen to the ground and could not concentrate. The tedious spirit chi body tempering process lasted for a full 6 hours. It could be said that the changes from the early, middle, late, and peak of the second stage were all included. The white mist in the soul source space dissipated, revealing the new appearance of the soul source. A giant turtle with teeth, carrying the giant monument on its back, clearly appeared in the soul source space. Finally, when everything was done, Wang Sheng did not care about anything else and immediately began to check the number of apertures. Closing his eyes to feel, Wang Sheng's face revealed a smile. After completing the transformation, there were actually 4 more apertures. Wang Sheng couldn't help but be happy. According to the previous pattern, Wang Sheng found that the number of his aperture acupoints increased geometrically. The Hornby transformation had increased by 1, and the Taotai transformation had increased by 2. Now, the Taowu transformation had increased by 4. Next time it would be 8. In the beginning, the number couldn't compare to those powerful source spirits, but as his cultivation increased, the number of apertures he gained was terrifying. There was no need to wait for the 9th stage realm, or whatever. The 5th stage realm would be 16, and the 6th stage realm would be 32. This number change was extremely terrifying. 7th stage realm meant that there were 64 of them at once. Those who were known as high-level source spirits would only increase their cultivation by 5 to 9 apertures per layer. Even if there were 9 of them each time, there would only be 63 of them when they reached the 7th stage realm. This was the total number, and at that time, Wang Sheng's total number of acupoints had already reached 128. Not to mention the number far exceeded. One must know that there were yin-yang cyclones in Wang Sheng's apertures. Each aperture was equivalent to 10 apertures of an ordinary source spirit absorbing spiritual energy. If this was included, Wang Sheng's control of spiritual energy would absolutely exceed everyone's expectations. Wang Sheng didn't quit the cultivation state immediately. Instead, he borrowed the momentum from before to increase the yin-yang cyclones in all 4 apertures in one go. He spent another 4 hours before he stopped. Before he quit the cultivation state, Wang Sheng didn't forget to try to split the Taowu's source spirit. But what surprised Wang Sheng was that for some reason, the Taowu couldn't be split. Perhaps it was because of the giant monument on its back. If the giant monument couldn't be split, then the Taowu couldn't be split. Wang Sheng used all sorts of methods, but still couldn't separate the Taowu along with the giant monument. If he returned to the real world at this time, people would see that Wang Sheng was actually in the 3rd stage realm and not the 2nd stage realm, which might bring a lot of trouble. But the Taowu couldn't split, so Wang Sheng couldn't disguise his own cultivation realm, which made Wang Sheng very puzzled. Just when Wang Sheng was having a headache, the Taowu's source spirit suddenly took the initiative to split. To be exact, it didn't split, but a large part of its body that couldn't be seen clearly suddenly split off. This part of its body was shrouded in white fog, fluttering to the top of the giant monument and stopped at the top of the giant monument. The part that split off, together with a large part of the top of the giant monument, were all shrouded in white fog and could no longer be seen clearly. What situation was this? Wang Sheng couldn't figure it out in a short while. After Taowu split off half of its body became much smaller, but it still maintained the image of a giant tortoise, trying its best to carry the giant monument. At this stage, Wang Sheng also knew that there was no better way. Split half thin, it was much better than being seen as a 3rd stage realm cultivator. Letting out a long sigh, Wang Sheng's consciousness returned from the cultivation state to the real world. When he opened his eyes, it was already nighttime. How long did he last this time? Just as he was about to stand up, the moment he exerted force, Kacha, the rocking chair under him, seemed to have suddenly turned into rotten wood, completely falling apart. Chapter 182. What was going on? Wang Sheng's body was about to fall to the ground, but his body reflexively commanded his arms to support himself. The next moment, Wang Sheng's entire body seemed to have slammed into a powerful spring. He was sent flying high into the air. However, As he was only supporting himself from one side, his body was not very balanced. He spun twice in the air before falling to the ground again. The movement was too fast. Before Wang Sheng had time to react, he fell heavily on the stone table in the courtyard. Bang! The thick table was directly smashed into pieces by Wang Sheng's body and scattered on the ground. Wang Sheng took this opportunity to carefully stand up and not lie on the ground. After standing up, Wang Sheng stared blankly at the mess on the ground and could not react for a long time. Ha ha ha! The old shadow eunuch's loud laughter drilled into Wang Sheng's ears without concealment. But no matter how Wang Sheng listened, he felt that the old eunuch's voice was only directed at him. It seemed to be very soft in other directions. Han Bingli's laughter also came over, but it was not a presumptuous laughter, but a kind of low snicker. That's right, it was a bit unkind to laugh presumptuously in the middle of the night. He would be scolded by the people sleeping. Wang Sheng thought so, but he instantly noticed that something was wrong. Why were there signs of spiritual energy gathering in several directions? There's no need to look. The old shadow eunuch's figure suddenly appeared on the stone bench without the stone table. After sitting down, he said, "Thanks to you, 5 guys suddenly broke through. If the movement is too big and disturbs their advancement, they will definitely be beaten up when they wake up." Wang Sheng was still a little puzzled. What did he mean by thanks to him? Before he could ask, Han Bingli carried a big stone table with both hands, similar to the stone table in Wang Sheng's courtyard, and jumped over the wall. Bang! The large stone table was pushed back to the spot where Wang Sheng had placed it. Han Bingley kicked away the broken pieces and sat down beside the table. He patted the table and said, "Aren't you going to hurry up and bring out the good food and drinks? Shouldn't we be drinking to celebrate?" Even without Ice Lee's reminder, Wang Sheng was so hungry that his chest was sticking to his back. He even wondered if he could eat a whole cow. "I've already instructed them." The shadow old eunuch had already anticipated this and had already instructed the chefs on Wang Sheng's behalf. Even in the middle of the night, if Wang Sheng wanted to eat, he could eat at any time. "Brat, you're amazing." The shadow turned to Wang Sheng and looked him up and down for a while before saying, 2 days and 2 nights. You've leveled up twice in a row. I didn't know you were a cultivation genius." Wang Sheng didn't pay much attention to the old shadow eunuch. There was a hint of gratification and ridicule in his tone as he took a step forward. He had clearly used normal strength, but Wang Sheng's body still lurched forward, almost crashing into the stone table. He was supported by Ice Lee from the side, and then he stood still. "What's going on?" Wang Sheng cried out in surprise. Why did his body seem to be out of control? Leveled up 2 realms in a row. Strength and coordination have improved too much, so you're not used to it. How big of a deal can it be? The shadow old eunuch explained his current situation to Wang Sheng with contempt, which made Wang Sheng understand. After completing the Swanee transformation, his strength had increased by many times. It was normal for Wang Sheng to not be used to it for a while. If Wang Sheng could control it immediately, he would be a monster. Raising his head, Wang Sheng found that his hand and arm had lost a lot of weight. It had to be said that Wang Sheng had previously been a muscular man. However, at this moment, the arm that he stretched out was thin and shriveled. The skin on it was so thin that it was almost transparent. It was as if one could see what was beneath the skin. Wang Sheng understood this situation very well. This was the sign of sharp reduction in body fat after many athletes trained. In other words, Wang Sheng had lost so much weight that he only had muscles and fascia left. There was almost no fat left. Thinking about the body tempering process of the Swanee transformation, Wang Sheng felt relieved. It would be strange if that kind of expansion and compression did not consume a lot of energy and matter. His body was always in the middle of practicing. Although he did not lack energy, he could not replenish his flesh. It was normal for him to lose weight. When he just woke up, he was not familiar with his body and could not control his strength. So, when he moved casually, he broke the chair, and when he supported his body, he flew up. Ice Lee kicked a stone stool to the side and asked Wang Sheng to sit there, not letting him get close to the stone table. "Stay away from it. If you smash another one, where can I find a table to eat and drink at in the middle of the night?" Wang Xing almost tiptoed to sit on the stone stool carefully. After sitting down, he let out a long breath. It seemed that a small battle was not so tiring. Senior, what did you mean when you said it was all thanks to me? Wang Sheng remembered his doubts and asked the old shadow eunuch curiously. You absorbed the spirit energy twice to temper your body. In addition, you stimulated the medicinal power of the nature pill in the middle. A few people who were stuck at the bottleneck and could not break through slightly absorbed the medicinal power of the nature pill that you leaked and broke through the bottleneck. The old shadow eunuch explained with some envy. So that was it. In that case, those people were experts who were advancing to the next level of spirit energy to temper their bodies. Wang Shen could not help but nod. My luck is really good. It's more than good, nicely added. He had also been stuck in this realm for a long time. Unfortunately, the medicinal power of the nature pill that Wang Sheng leaked was far from enough to meet his needs. At this time, there was an indescribable jealousy in his tone. At this time, the chefs had already started to deliver the food. As soon as Wang Sheng saw the food, he directly threw the two old fellows to the side and repeatedly called for the food to be delivered to him. However, as soon as he picked up the chopsticks, tragedy struck Wang Sheng again. The two bamboo chopsticks were directly crushed by him. If it were two metal chopsticks, they would be crushed by Wang Sheng at any time if he was not careful. Wang Sheng used it a few times and was very unhappy. He simply threw the chopsticks away and directly started. It was also troublesome to start. One hand was pressing the big bone, and the other hand was about to tear the meat. Bang! The big wrist holding the meat was crushed by Wang Sheng. Fortunately, Wang Sheng had already picked up the big meat. He was so hungry that he directly stuffed it into his mouth. As soon as he chewed, the sound of his upper and lower teeth colliding made Wang Sheng feel that half of his mouth was numb. The strength of his chewing muscles was many times stronger than before. With one bite, he bit to the bottom. This was also because Wang Sheng had already consciously restrained his strength. Otherwise, he would have directly crushed his upper and lower teeth. He suddenly became a Hercules who did not know how many times stronger than himself. Wang Sheng did not even know how to eat. Later, he was really hungry. He used his hands to tear the meat into pieces and directly swallowed it in one bite. He did not even chew. This guy, Ice Lee and the old shadow eunuch looked at each other. They did not know how to describe this little monster, Wang Sheng. Seeing that Wang Sheng had almost swallowed, the old shadow eunuch slowly asked, Speaking of which, how did you withstand the medicinal power of the nature pill? Chapter 183. I couldn't withstand the medicinal power of the entire good fortune pill at first. Wang Sheng ate until his mouth was full of soup, but now he didn't even dare to wipe his mouth for fear that he would crush his chin if he used too much force. Ice Lee and the old shadow eunuch suddenly widened their eyes and looked at Wang Sheng in surprise. He couldn't withstand the medicinal power and still wanted to eat it? Was he stupid? Not only Ice Lee and the shadow, but the surrounding experts all pricked up their ears for fear of missing something. This was the secret recipe for a small cultivator to swallow a good fortune pill that could make his body explode. It would be extremely useful in the future if they knew. What's with that look? Wang Sheng looked at the two's curious and contemptuous gazes and couldn't help but feel unhappy. The two didn't answer and just stared at Wang Sheng, causing Wang Sheng to feel a little scared. What was this? Could it be that this was also a big secret? If I can't withstand the medicinal power of one good fortune pill, can't I just use half? Wang Sheng directly made a contemptuous gesture in the air and fiercely replied, You eat 2,000 caddies of rice in one meal. Don't you feel stuffed to death? Can't you divide it into 1,000 meals and eat it all at once? Stupid. I only dug out a piece the size of a grain of rice at first. Some principles couldn't be any simpler, but some people couldn't think of it. As soon as Wang Sheng gave his answer, Ice Lee and the old shadow eunuch were still fine, but Wang Sheng heard the sound of beating their chests and stamping their feet in the surrounding courtyard. Ice Lee's eyes burst with anger. He stared at Wang Sheng as if he was looking at an enemy and growled, Don't we know how to split it? Don't you know that if you split the pill, once the integrity of the good fortune pill is destroyed, the medicinal power will immediately be lost? Of course I know, Wang Sheng replied indifferently. He already knew the result from the first cut. You know nothing. Isley was really anxious. Once a complete good fortune pill is broken, within 2 to 4 hours, half of the medicinal power will be lost. Don't you know that? Half. You look like you've eaten a good fortune pill, but it's actually only half a pill, you idiot. So be it. What's the big deal? Wang Sheng still had that mischievous look that made people want to go up and beat him up. Isley didn't know what to say. He realized that he couldn't say anything. If he said another word, he might not be able to stop himself from attacking. Even if it's only half of the effect, it's not a loss for me. Wang Sheng looked at Han Bing Li's appearance and suddenly laughed. He stretched out his hand and made a peace sign, waving it in front of the two old fellows. Don't forget, I have 2 nature pills. 2. Half of the medicinal effect is equivalent to a whole pill. Whether it was the 2 experts in Wang Sheng's courtyard or the experts in the surrounding courtyards who were listening to the commotion, they were all stunned by Wang Sheng's statement. Yes, everyone was distressed by the waste of the good fortune pills, so they forgot that Wang Sheng had 2 good fortune pills. Or rather, they didn't forget, but they didn't think of it at this moment. Besides being stunned, everyone felt an indescribable pity in their hearts. That was the good fortune pill. Half of the medicinal effect had leaked out. No wonder those guys could advance. It was all thanks to the good fortune pill. Actually, Wang Sheng's words attracted everyone's attention to him. Actually, when I ate the second good fortune pill, I could already endure the medicinal effect of the whole pill. I didn't lose much. When they thought of how Wang Sheng had eaten the second nature creation pill without any hesitation, as well as the fact that he had advanced to another realm in such a short period of time, everyone had to admit that the nature creation pill had not been a waste. They finally found out the secret of Wang Sheng being able to swallow the good fortune pill through words. To put it bluntly, it was actually so worthless. Everyone felt angry and amused at the same time. At this moment, they didn't know what to say. As for the fact that Wang Sheng had crazily advanced a realm in a short period of time after eating the 2 good fortune pills, this wasn't something worth paying attention to. That was the good fortune pill, the good fortune pill. If it was given to an expert in the late or peak of the 5th degree realm, it would definitely be able to advance a realm into the 6th degree realm. If the 5th degree realm could advance to the 6th degree realm, what kind of nonsense was it to advance a small cultivator from the 1st degree realm to the 2nd degree realm? Not to mention the 2nd degree realm, it wasn't impossible to advance to the 3rd degree realm. Now, no matter how the old shadow eunuch looked at it, he felt that Wang Sheng should have advanced to the late or peak of the 2nd degree realm. However, he didn't feel that there was any problem with this. Even if he can endure the medicinal effect, there's no need to eat it nonstop, right? Isley was speechless. The old shadow eunuch slowly picked up the wine cup from the table and took a sip before asking leisurely, I have no choice but to eat it. Wang Sheng smiled bitterly. Isley and the old shadow eunuch had their appetites raised by Wang Sheng's words and looked curiously at Wang Sheng, waiting for his reply. If I don't hurry up and eat it, based on your experience, help me to judge. Wang Sheng was a little dejected. After I rest for a night, will that pill still be in my hands? Hearing this question, the two of them immediately shut their mouths and didn't say another word. Wang Sheng was in the inner city of Carefree City, and killing was not allowed in the inner city of Carefree City. However, the reason why all the rules could be continued was because the temptation of breaking the rules was not enough. It was because the benefits of breaking the rules could not exceed the disadvantages of breaking the rules. But obviously, the good fortune pill was the kind of thing that could make people disregard everything to break the rules, and it was extremely tempting. One must know that Wang Sheng's bounty in the Assassin's Hall was close to 1 million gold coins, and he couldn't even buy a good fortune pill. To exaggerate, he couldn't even buy news of the good fortune pill, and he didn't even know where to find it. With such a good fortune pill, how long could a small cultivator like Wang Sheng keep it? Even if he didn't intend to kill Wang Sheng and snatch it, He just wanted to politely ask to buy it from Wang Sheng. Would Wang Sheng refuse if he offered 1,000,000 gold coins more than Wang Sheng to buy it? Would Wang Sheng dare to refuse? Not to mention Wang Sheng. Even the old shadow eunuch and Isley knew that they definitely couldn't afford to offend such a rich and powerful person. If they really had to face such a situation, they would have no choice but to lower their heads. Wang Sheng only used half a day to decide to swallow the good fortune pill. This was already a very fast reaction. If he didn't react in time, perhaps Wang Sheng wouldn't even have anything to do with it. Such a treasure should always belong to the virtuous. How could Wang Sheng dare to go against the heavens? With this thought, Wang Sheng didn't hesitate to swallow 2 good fortune pills consecutively. He was more far-sighted than the 2 old fellows and had thought more thoroughly. Since he couldn't keep it for himself, he might as well take the good fortune pill and swallow it. Even if some of the medicinal energy leaked, it was still better than letting others take advantage of it. Chapter 184. So what if a little bit of medicinal energy was lost? Didn't the majority still enter Wang Sheng's stomach? This was what a smart person was. This night was destined to be a sleepless night for many people, but this had nothing to do with Wang Sheng. Those who had advanced were still advancing. Those who were paying attention were still paying attention, but no one thought of getting the nature pills from Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng chose to use the most direct and brutal method to solve this small crisis from a source. He ate the 2 nature pills in one go, and no one could think about it. For the next half of the night, Wang Sheng spent it eating nonstop. The consumption of the nature transformation was too great, and his entire body was constantly transmitting hunger to Wang Sheng. Even if Wang Sheng was already full, he still felt that it was not enough. The strengthened internal organs' digestive and absorption ability became extremely terrifying. Wang Sheng was still eating leisurely, and the other side had already absorbed the nutrients, adding some muscle and fat to Wang Sheng's body. By the time morning came, Wang Sheng was no longer that skinny image. He was still skinny, but there was already some flesh on his body. After a night of eating and drinking, Wang Sheng finally adapted to the strength of the muscles on his face and mouth. He didn't dare to say anything else, but at least his eating, drinking, and chewing movements had become normal, and he didn't need to carefully control it anymore. The strength of the body was not something that could be completely adapted in a short period of time. In the words of the shadow old eunuch and ice-coldly, Wang Sheng deserved it. You suddenly rose from a mediocre ordinary person to the late stage of the second realm. It would be strange if you could adapt in such a short period of time. Just obediently adapt to it bit by bit from the start. Even though they lost the chance to get the nature pill from Wang Sheng, but Wang Sheng's method of consumption had given many people a lot of inspiration. There were some similar pills that couldn't be consumed because they were afraid of not being able to withstand the medicinal energy, so wouldn't it be fine to break small amount? As for the problem of losing the medicinal power after breaking it, this was even easier to deal with. As long as the alchemist could divide the pill into several smaller pills, wouldn't it solve the problem? It was nothing more than sealing off the medicinal power at the last moment. How troublesome could it be? It just so happened that it was easier to retrieve the pill if there was less medicinal power. It was such a simple logic that anyone could understand. However, no one had thought of this for so many years. No one knew if this was everyone's sorrow, but this method was actually discovered by a barbarian. When everyone thought of this, they felt ashamed. The next day, when the housekeeper came over, Wang Sheng was practicing boxing in the empty courtyard. There was nothing he could do about it. Everything in the courtyard would break into pieces. Wang Sheng simply asked someone to send everything to the outer courtyard while he practiced in the empty inner courtyard. The butler couldn't help but shake his head when he saw how slow Wang Sheng was and how he made mistakes from time to time. He didn't realize that Wang Sheng wanted to use a slow training method like Taiji Fist to adapt to his strength. He only thought that Wang Sheng was in such a difficult situation because he couldn't adapt to his own strength. The housekeeper knew everything that happened in Wang Sheng's courtyard in the middle of the night when he woke up in the morning. Like the 2 old experts, The housekeeper's first reaction after reading the records was that Wang Sheng was really a smart person. Smart people could live longer, smart people were worth befriending, and smart people were worth supporting. If the housekeeper befriended Wang Sheng previously because of the governor's instructions, Wang Sheng's gold coins, and the secrets he had, then now, Wang Sheng had entered the list of people that the housekeeper felt he could befriend for a long time. This time, the housekeeper came over to hand over the gold coins for the revival pill reward to Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng had already received the revival pill and consumed it, so the reward was naturally meaningless. Therefore, the housekeeper wanted to hand over the reward to Wang Sheng. Are you planning to move the gold coins home, or do you have other things for the reward? The housekeeper smiled amiably and looked at the clumsy Wang Sheng, who was some distance away from him. Continue to hang up the task. Wang Sheng didn't even think about it and directly replied to the housekeeper. The conditions are still the same as before. If there is information, buy it. If there is elixir, buy it. Brother, you still have to work hard to keep a lookout. Carrying 2 revival pills on him was a road to death. Was it not a crime to have millions of gold coins piled up at home? Wang Sheng wasn't that stupid. Moreover, hanging up the task was to give some benefits to the housekeeper from the beginning. How stupid would he be to think of taking all the gold coins back and piling them up at home? This wasn't the way to offend people. The butler came with satisfaction, and he left with satisfaction. Wang Sheng was a smart person and was worth befriending. Before leaving, the housekeeper even gave Wang Sheng a few pointers for the first time, allowing him to quickly adapt to the changes in his realm. Although it was just a few simple tricks, it was enough to explain the problem. It turned out that the butler was also a hidden expert. Regarding this, Wang Sheng wasn't surprised at all. To be able to be the housekeeper of the mayor of Worry-Free City and be able to control the situation in various places, just the title of the mayor's housekeeper was not enough. Without true strength, how could these experts who had killed their way through mountains of corpses and seas of blood to escape to Worry-Free City be obedient? Many people knew that Wang Sheng had advanced 2 levels in a few days and entered the 2nd stage realm. They all knew that Wang Sheng had advanced too quickly and was slowly getting used to it. But no one came to disturb Wang Sheng. Everyone had the same thought. Wang Sheng's increase in cultivation was a good thing. On one hand, it proved that his soul could be upgraded and could be used as a reference for other forces. On the other hand, it also proved that the nature creation pill was indeed miraculous and could be consumed by people of lower realms. On the other hand, everyone was looking forward to another thing. Wang Sheng's realm had increased, his cultivation was higher, and his strength had increased. When he had completely adapted to the new realm, would he enter the grounds of 1,000 extremes again? He could enter the grounds of 1,000 extremes safely when he was still a nobody. Wouldn't it be easier when his realm was higher? If they revealed that there was a nature creation pill in the grounds of 1,000 extremes, or something that Wang Sheng needed, would Wang Sheng enter the grounds of 1,000 extremes without hesitation? If everyone was willing to help, would they be able to discuss with Wang Sheng and enter the grounds of 1,000 extremes together? From a way he revealed the secret of upgrading his soul, Wang Sheng wasn't averse to cooperating with other forces. There was even news from the housekeeper of the mayor's residence that the previous people sent by the aristocratic families to kill Wang Sheng were extremely stupid. If they wanted to know something, they could just politely ask and offer enough benefits. Who knows? Maybe Wang Sheng would be willing. Wang Sheng was even willing to exchange the map of the grounds of 1,000 extremes for the nature creation pill. What else could he not exchange for? The method to enter the grounds of 1,000 extremes. What could he use to exchange for it? Chapter 185. When Wang Sheng was finally able to control his strength and finally dared to touch his head, he realized what the old shadow eunuch and Isley were laughing at when they saw him that night. At first, Wang Sheng thought that they were laughing at his clumsy performance of not being able to control his strength, but now he understood that they were laughing at him for not having a single strand of hair on his body. In fact, Wang Sheng himself was making a big fuss over a minor issue. He was able to release such a large amount of strength, so naturally his bones could withstand his strength. It was a very simple reason. but made Wang Sheng nervous for at least half a day. However, Wang Sheng could not be blamed entirely. After the Swanee transformation was completed, Wang Sheng had a huge amount of strength. With just a slight twist, he could sit on a sturdy chair until it broke, so it was not too much to be careful. Before noon, those who wanted to know about Wang Sheng's current situation already knew that Wang Sheng had taken the nature pill and advanced 2 levels consecutively, entering the realm of the second stage. Moreover, the method of taking a nature pill was so simple that it made people beat their chests and stamp their feet. Who knew how many people had been inspired by this and began to regret missing out on this opportunity when they were young? Those who had the idea of forging the nature pill had already given up and did not intend to think of using it on Wang Sheng. However, heaven never bars one's way. There was actually still a chance to obtain the nature pill. Wang Sheng had exchanged for the nature pill from someone else. The whereabouts of those 2 people had already been targeted by several experts from various forces, and they could not get rid of them for the time being. If he wanted the nature pill, it was more realistic to get it from those 2 people. Of course, it was not that everyone was not curious about Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng had used a map from the grounds of Thousand Despair to exchange for 2 nature pills. Who knew what else Wang Sheng had obtained in the grounds of Thousand Despair? One must know that the number of experts who had died in the grounds of Thousand Despair over the past few hundred years was uncountable. No matter what others thought, Wang Sheng had no other thoughts at this moment. The only thing on his mind was to eat and drink to his heart's content and adapt to his strength as soon as possible. It was unknown how much energy and substance Wang Sheng had consumed in the transformation, but Wang Sheng's appetite these past few days had been frighteningly huge. On average, each meal was at least 5 times the amount of food before his realm had increased, and this was the result of Wang Sheng's own control. The old shadow eunuch replied to Wang Sheng's question disdainfully as he freeloaded off Wang Sheng's dishes. That's normal. What's the big deal about having an increased appetite when one's cultivation level has increased? Yes, there was a time when I almost made my family poor. Han Bingley buried his head and enjoyed the delicious food. He didn't even raise his head to reply. Wang Sheng was still at a separate table, and he was also eating heartily. The Imperial Treasury sent a large iron table and iron chair. It was thick, heavy, and solid. Even if Wang Sheng could not control his strength occasionally, it would deform at most, but it would not fall apart. It was very suitable for Wang Sheng's current state. Listening to the words of the 2 old experts, Wang Sheng was relieved. Suddenly, he asked curiously, "You too? What crime did you commit in the past to enter the worry-free city?" Han Bingley and the old shadow eunuch were stunned. They didn't expect Wang Sheng to ask such a question. After a pause, the old shadow eunuch replied indifferently, "I was serving the emperor in the past and accidentally annoyed a concubine. I was so angry that I killed her and then entered the worry-free city." The old eunuch said it casually, but Wang Sheng was directly dumbfounded. Killing a concubine? That was too exaggerated. Although Wang Sheng knew that this was probably a deliberate arrangement of the imperial family, it really made him speechless to pay the price of killing a concubine. In addition, this action of the imperial family also indirectly increased the prestige of the worry-free city. Even the person who killed the concubine could escape to the worry-free city unscathed. It would be strange if the worry-free city did not become famous. My side is not as exaggerated as yours. This was also the first time Han Bingley heard the reason why the old eunuch entered the worry-free city. He was also a little surprised, but when it came to himself, he played it down. "I don't see eye to eye with a branch of the Gon clan of the 5 great clans. They bullied me too much, so I simply destroyed their branch and entered the worry-free city." This was even more ferocious. The Gon clan of the 5 great clans, even if it was just a branch, was still a force to be reckoned with. Destroying a branch just like that was really not an ordinary kind of ferocious. One had to know that Han Bingley was talking about a branch, not a branch. Facing these 2 old experts, Wang Sheng could only give a thumbs up to express his silent admiration. To adapt to his new strength, Wang Sheng took 2 whole days to adapt. Only with the help of the combat consciousness small person could he barely seem to move normally. However, it only looked normal. If he was not careful, his true strength would be revealed. Wang Sheng himself didn't know how many times his strength had increased. His initial estimate was that it was not less than 100 times. And this change happened in just over a day. So it would be strange if he could adapt normally. This also led to everyone, including Han Bing, Li, and the shadow old eunuch, who were almost always close to Wang Sheng, did not think that Wang Sheng's strength was great. They only thought that he was not used to his new strength. When Wang Sheng's actions looked a little normal, Miss Ling of the Imperial Treasure House came to the door angrily. The main purpose of Ling Er's visit was very simple. It was to pay Wang Sheng for providing the news of chili to the Imperial Treasure House last time. Wang Sheng reminded them to prepare and plant chili in advance, and he was very trustworthy. He only ate a few chili here, except for a few caddies of chili given by the City Lore Mansion. He never spread it out. The reward that the Imperial Treasury had to pay was the information that Wang Sheng and the others could gather about the lands of Thousand Despair. But now Wang Sheng could not move freely, so it was also a very suitable solution for Miss Ling to come to Wang Sheng and explain it to him. When it came to encyclopedic knowledge, who was better than Miss Ling But for Miss Ling this was something she was reluctant to do. So from the time she entered the door of Wang Sheng's house, she did not give Wang Sheng a good face. Of course, Wang Sheng would not care about anything with a little girl. She was a guest, not to mention she was here to deliver information to him. Of course, he had to treat her well. Otherwise, if the little girl accidentally forgot or missed a key sentence, then Wang Sheng would have no place to cry. Recently, several chefs who were being guided by Wang Sheng at the request of Wang Sheng put out 120% of their energy and worked hard to cook a large table full of delicious dishes. Among them, half of them were made by Wang Sheng in the past, and then improved in the past few days, and the other half were made with the chili that Wang Sheng had carefully prepared. Miss Ling was beaming with joy as she ate the meal. It must be known that this group of chefs have been required by Wang Sheng to practice their specialty dishes crazily every day. Because the dishes were old dishes, they had not been changed much for more than a month. When had Ling ever eaten this kind of delicacy that had been carefully picked out by Wang Sheng's current tongue? After a meal, Ling Er's dissatisfaction disappeared by half. Chapter 186. When exactly did the ground of Thousand Despair form? I've searched through the scattered records. The most detailed records are vague. Based on my calculations, it should be around 400 to 500 years ago. Ling began to tell Wang Sheng about the ground of Thousand Despair after eating and drinking to her heart's content. Ling sat far away and looked at Wang Sheng with disdain as he clumsily and slowly practiced. She kept shaking her head as she talked about the information. Ling couldn't see through something as profound as Tai Chi, not to mention a little girl like Ling Even Ice Li and the Shadow Eunuch didn't think it was anything profound when they watched Wang Sheng practice clumsily every day. They only thought that Wang Sheng couldn't control his strength and was purposely practicing slowly to avoid making a mistake. Wang Sheng didn't care what they thought of him. He practiced while listening. Continue. It was impossible to know how the ground of Thousand Despair was formed. Even if there were records from the 5 great clans, it wasn't something that a chain store like the Imperial Treasury could find. It could only be a summary from various hearsay. Ling did an excellent job on this point. According to the stories passed down, there were 3 possibilities for the formation of the ground of Thousand Despair. The first possibility is that the original ground of Thousand Despair was a cultivation sect that was destroyed for some unknown reason. Ling began to explain the 3 possibilities, but at the last moment, the sect activated a mysterious formation that surrounded the entire ground of Thousand Despair. After a few hundred years, it became the current situation. The second possibility is that the original ground of Thousand Despair was a great clan that was also destroyed. Ling continued to say the second possibility. It was also the clan's formation that resulted in the current situation. What about the third possibility? Wang Sheng cooperated and asked. A storyteller needed someone to play along from time to time. Only then would the storytelling flow smoothly. Ling Er really enjoyed it. The third possibility is a bit mysterious. It's so mysterious that it doesn't seem real. It's also the one that has the least people believing. There are people who believed all of the theories, but no one knew what was going on. Since the third theory was the one that had the least people believing, it was indeed a bit unreal. The third theory is that the ground of despair is a prison, a sealed place. Ling Er said without hesitation. It is said that the 5 clans and a few cultivation sects work together to seal some great demon. It is indeed untrustworthy, Wang Sheng said calmly. Why seal it? Since they can be sealed, why not kill them? In the past, Wang Sheng had always found it strange when he saw those novels and movies on Earth. If one could seal the other party and make them lose the ability to resist, why not kill them? In the end, it was always the devil that broke free from the seal and stirred up a bloody storm. It was too fake. That's why not many people believe in it. For the first time, Ling Er agreed with Wang Sheng's point of view. I once asked a few formation masters if there was such a sealing formation. What did the array master say? Wang Sheng asked curiously. Yes. Ling Er gave an affirmative answer. However, such a formation requires a continuous consumption of spiritual energy. Even if there is a fixed consumption of spiritual energy, after a few hundred years, the one that was sealed would have starved to death. Could it be that the people who sealed him would send food in from time to time? Wang Sheng nodded in agreement. It was rare for the two of them to have the same opinion on the same matter. Following that, Ling Er told Wang Sheng many legends about the ground of despair. However, it was nothing more than someone finding a strong demon beast in the ground of despair, an expert who entered the ground of despair and never came out, etc. The most detailed story is the story of you being chased into the ground of despair, then passing through the ground of despair and entering Carefree City. At the end of her story, Ling said to Wang Sheng in a mocking tone, "There are witnesses and material evidence. It is true and reliable. Do you want to hear this part?" Of course, Wang Sheng shook his head. "Forget about this part. You don't know as much as I do." With one sentence, Ling Er's desire to tease Wang Sheng disappeared. How boring. Since she had said what she needed to say, Miss Ling Er directly said, "I'm leaving." Then, she left Wang Sheng's house without hesitation. To Wang Sheng, the most useful information he had was the first and second possibility. However, Wang Sheng was more inclined to the second possibility. A certain aristocratic family had been exterminated. There was no other reason. In the ground of despair, Wang Sheng saw traces of ordinary people living there. It was a complete village. If it was a sect, they might not live together with ordinary people. Only a certain family would have such an arrangement. That so-called spell formation probably no longer existed, or it had stopped working due to a lack of spiritual energy. However, after an unknown period of time, it had nurtured many strong demon beasts, which made it impossible for outsiders to enter. But what did this have to do with the little person with battle awareness? Wang Sheng couldn't say. In short, everything was a mystery. "What are you thinking about?" The shadow eunuch's voice rang in Wang Sheng's ears. Wang Sheng didn't hide it. In fact, he couldn't hide it. The old eunuch who lived next door had very good hearing. Whatever Ling Er had said and done, this old man must have heard it clearly. How did the ground of despair come into being? Wang Sheng asked the old eunuch. He was from a royal family, so he should know more about it. "I don't know." The old eunuch shook his head. Even the worry-free city only came into existence after the lands of thousand extremities. The 5 big families rose at that time. Our royal family joined forces with the 5 big families to exterminate the previous dynasty after the ground of despair. How many people know about the previous dynasty? The old eunuch didn't ask why Wang Sheng wanted to know about the ground of despair. Wang Sheng could enter and exit the ground of despair. It would be strange if he didn't ask about it. Where can I find the records of the previous dynasty? Wang Shi asked the old eunuch directly. Some big families that have existed for thousands of years. The old eunuch answered without thinking. Or those secluded sects that have existed for a long time. It was good enough that the big families didn't kill Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng still want to find the information, unless Song Yin came out of seclusion. As for the secluded sects, they were all secluded. How could Wang Sheng find them alone? High reward? Wouldn't that attract hatred directly? Wang Sheng wouldn't do such a stupid thing. For some reason, the old eunuch seemed to be happy that Wang Sheng could solve the secret of the ground of despair. He also began to think of ways to help Wang Sheng. Actually, there's another place that might have the records of the previous dynasty. The old eunuch thought for a while, then suddenly slapped his thigh and said excitedly, "Where?" Wang Sheng suddenly became interested. There is a place that is neither a big family nor a cultivation sect, but has existed for thousands of years. You might be interested in it. The old eunuch whetted Wang Sheng's appetite a little, then answered, "The Temple of Laojun." Chapter 187. Wang Sheng's eyes lit up when he heard about the Temple of Laojun. That's right, he had actually overlooked this. No matter how dynasties changed, no matter how sects and families rose or fell, there was a culture that could truly exist beyond the change of dynasties, and that was religion. Wang Sheng didn't know much about this world's religions, but when he heard the words Temple of Laojun, the first thing that came to his mind was a Taoist temple. It wasn't strange for religions to flourish for a long time. It was very normal for some sects to have records of previous dynasties. Wang Sheng actually didn't think of this. This really shouldn't have happened. Since there was a direction, Wang Sheng also had a goal. Is there an expert in the Temple of Laojun? Wang Sheng asked subconsciously. He wanted to sneak in without alerting anyone, then leave after finding the information. This was something that Wang Sheng often did on Earth. The Temple of Laojun has a longer lifespan than dynasties. What do you think? The old eunuch looked at Wang Sheng as if he was illiterate, and his tone didn't hide his disdain. How is it compared to you? Wang Sheng's heart turned cold, but he still didn't give up and asked. People always talk about being merciful. If I go, I should be able to leave alive. The old eunuch pondered for a moment, then shook his head and said, I'll have to meet someone who is truly merciful. It's over. There's no way I can sneak in. Wang Sheng sighed in his heart. In fact, all the great families definitely had corresponding records. Wang Sheng firmly believed this. However, the records of the great families were definitely the most confidential of secrets. No family would be willing to open it up to an outsider. Even if Wang Sheng and Song Yin were friends, the Song clan didn't show any mercy when they hunted him down. They were only a little more relaxed now, but Wang Sheng himself knew that the Song clan wouldn't easily open up this information to him. Unless Wang Sheng really agreed to marry Song Yin, held a real wedding, and revealed the secret of entering and leaving the grounds of despair to the Song clan, it was impossible. Would Wang Sheng really marry Song Yin? There was no need to ask this question. Wang Sheng knew very well that Song Yin had been treating him as a shield from the very beginning. Later on, they had developed some friendly relations. However, Wang Sheng knew that he did not have the charm to charm Song Yin to the point where she would not marry anyone but him. Moreover, there was always someone in Wang Sheng's heart, the girl in his dreams. That pair of charming eyes seemed to be able to see through Wang Sheng's heart and had already entered Wang Sheng's mind. Thinking of this, the little person with the battle consciousness in his source spirit space suddenly trembled, but this tremble was very slight. Wang Sheng's consciousness wasn't always in the source spirit space, so he didn't notice it at all. Relatively speaking, it was easier for Wang Sheng to see the legacies of the Tao sections. However, it was still too early to say these things. Wang Sheng himself was trapped in Carefree City, so going to the Grand Supreme Elder Temple was a complete joke. Speaking of which, if someone in the city accepts a mission to assassinate someone from the outside, how do they leave the city? With the old eunuch present, Wang Sheng simply asked all of his questions at once, so that he wouldn't need to ask for guidance one by one. There are many ways. The old eunuch took a pot of wine from the table and slowly poured himself a cup. He slowly drank and replied, Actually, you can easily do it. Wang Sheng raised his eyebrows. How would he do it? You can directly enter the grounds of despair and find a random place to leave. Who can stop you? The old eunuch leisurely replied to Wang Sheng's question, not forgetting to taste the wine at the same time. Other than that, Wang Sheng knew that this was a method, but this method required him to risk entering the grounds of despair. If it wasn't necessary, Wang Sheng wouldn't easily go to the grounds of despair, where you can take the green assassin token. The old eunuch looked at the dishes on the table and replied without raising his head. Basically, if you're able to become a level 6 assassin, unless you have directly offended a few aristocratic families, ordinary forces would definitely not dare to offend a level 6 assassin in Carefree City. Of course, you are an exception. After saying this, the old eunuch didn't forget to stab Wang Sheng in the back. The people you have offended are not just 1 or 2 aristocratic families. Not to mention the green assassin token. Even if you take the red one out, you will probably be hacked to death. The red assassin token was of a higher grade than the green one. Green was for level 6, 7, and 8, while red was for level 9 and super. Obtaining the red assassin token basically meant that one had assassinated at least an 8th degree expert. One's strength was already unimaginable by ordinary people. But Wang Sheng knew that the old eunuch's words were not just to scare him. Although the various aristocratic families were helpless against him in Carefree City, as long as they knew that he had gone out, they would definitely try to win him over at all costs. If they couldn't win him over, then he couldn't be used by others and could only be killed. Do low-level assassins not leave the city for the rest of their lives? Wang Sheng asked again. That's naturally impossible. The old eunuch threw a broad bean into his mouth and chewed loudly. The method they use is also the method used by most of the assassins in Carefree City. What is it? Wang Sheng asked. Go to the Hall of Assassins to buy a mask. The old eunuch replied lazily. There's an array on it that can change one's face. As long as one isn't unlucky enough to be attacked directly on the face, most people won't be able to discover it. What if you meet an expert? Wang Sheng asked in more detail out of the caution of a sniper. It's fine for ordinary experts, unless they are experts in arrays. The old eunuch answered directly. However, experts in arrays will only be able to discover that you are wearing a mask, but they won't be able to tell who is under the mask. Furthermore, most of the masks in Carefree City are made by experts in arrays, and it's also a source of income for them. Even if they see it, they will at most know that it's an assassin from Carefree City and won't meddle in other people's business. Wang Sheng instantly understood. This was also the cleverness of Carefree City. Allowing array experts to earn money through selling masks naturally meant that they wouldn't cut off their own source of income. Furthermore, array experts might not necessarily be combat experts, and no one would offend an unknown assassin from Carefree City for no reason. After weighing the pros and cons, the last method of selling masks was the easiest, and most reliable. You want to go out? The old eunuch waited for Wang Sheng to digest the information before asking. Actually, this question was purely nonsense. Why would he ask this if he didn't want to go out? Yes. Wang Sheng nodded. Let's go out for a walk. Pa. The old eunuch slammed a jade tablet heavily on the table. The sound was especially loud, but the jade tablet wasn't damaged at all. Of course, this was because of the old eunuch's cultivation, not because of the quality of the jade. Take this and keep it carefully. The old eunuch didn't waste any more words. If there's a chance in the Imperial City, if you encounter any trouble, show this tablet. It's useful. Chapter 188. Aren't you afraid that others will hear you? Wang Sheng was puzzled by the old eunuch's blatant act of revealing his identity as a secret agent of the royal family. This was completely the opposite of what he had learned in disguise and infiltration. No matter how loud I clap, when I don't want others to hear me, they won't be able to hear me. The old eunuch finally displayed the conceit of an expert. Don't worry, other than you, no one will be able to hear what I just said. An expert could do this? Wang Sheng couldn't help but be in awe of the cultivation of this world. He gave the old eunuch a thumbs up, walked over carefully, and put the jade pendant into his storage ring. He couldn't be careless. The horizontal bar in Wang Sheng's house was a solid iron rod. He grabbed it and tried to do a few chin-ups, but because he gripped it too hard, the iron rod, which was as thick as a child's arm, broke in half. Gripping iron like mud? It was too easy. Fortunately, no one saw it at that time. If it were the old eunuch, Han Bing Li, and the others, they would definitely realize how terrifying Wang Sheng's strength was. Wang Sheng got used to it at home for another 3 days, and then he appeared at the Assassin's Hall. Even though he had practiced for a few days, he still didn't dare to move too fast. He moved slowly, and it looked indescribably awkward. Basically, everyone in the inner city knew what kind of state Wang Sheng was in. Those who paid attention to him in the outer city also knew that he was not used to the sudden increase in strength. Ordinary people would definitely be able to get used to it quickly, but Wang Sheng naturally needed a longer time to get used to it. Now, Wang Sheng could be considered as a celebrity in the carefree city. There would always be people who would greet Wang Sheng as he walked, but it was just a greeting. Once he reached the outer city, many people looked at Wang Sheng in a different way. He was a godly person who ate 2 pills of fortune in a row. Among the people who looked at him, there were all kinds of thoughts. Wang Sheng ignored them and strolled slowly into the Assassin's Hall. His walking posture was very strange, and many people were secretly laughing at his back. After entering the lobby, Wang Sheng saw the woman who had helped him with the registration. Wang Sheng remembered that she was called Sister Rosa. She was still in the corner. Wang Sheng looked at the queue of people who had accepted the mission and slowly moved to Sister Rosa's side. When they entered Carefree City, Wang Sheng was only in the first-degree realm. Although he had observed carefully, there were many things that he could not see. For example, at that time, he didn't notice that Elder Sister Rosa's smiling figure was actually a third-stage Realm Peak top exponent, so he didn't notice that every time Elder Sister Rosa looked at him, her gaze was always on his weakest spot, ready to strike any time. "Hello, Big Sister Rosa." Wang Sheng walked over slowly and greeted Big Sister Rosa with a smile from afar. After walking over, Wang Sheng didn't dare to sit down, afraid that he would accidentally break the chair. Elder Sister Rosa's smile almost reached her ears, and it was the kind of happiness that came from the bottom of her heart. This young man would always greet her whenever he came over, and he never lacked etiquette. Good boy. In Carefree City, there weren't many people who could make her feel this way. Still not used to it. Looking at Wang Sheng walking slowly and awkwardly, and even when he reached, he still didn't dare to sit down, Elder Sister Rosa immediately knew Wang Sheng's condition. Just as she asked, Elder Sister Rosa's expression suddenly changed. Just as she was about to reprimand, a sudden force came from behind Wang Sheng, as though someone had knocked into him heavily. Wang Sheng swore that he just subconsciously used force to stand, and he really just stood there. He didn't use any force at all, not to mention bouncing back. However, there was a sudden cracking sound of bones breaking behind him. From the feeling of the muscles on his back, Wang Sheng knew that a bone must have broken. The problem was that this wasn't the main point. The main point was that after the person behind him let out a scream, the scream began to get further and further away. The scream lasted for less than a second, and there was a loud bang. He didn't know what was smashed. Wang Sheng controlled his body with great difficulty, but he didn't dare to turn around quickly. He slowly turned his head, only to find that there was a big hole in the wall of the Assassin's Hall that his back was facing. "How dare you?" Elder Sister Rosa's voice sounded at this moment. It sounded like a kind of scolding that had no deterrence at all. In fact, there was no need for deterrence at all. All Wang Sheng saw was an incomparably horrified gaze. As for the person who had knocked into him, Wang Sheng didn't see him at all. The person was already outside the wall, and in the dust, Wang Sheng couldn't see clearly no matter how good his eyesight was. It didn't matter that Wang Sheng couldn't see clearly, but the others saw it clearly, especially Elder Sister Rosa. She was sitting behind Wang Sheng and was greeting Wang Sheng when a blind person bumped into Wang Sheng. It was definitely intentional. Although he pretended to be tripped and bumped into him involuntarily, the act was too obvious. Needless to say, it must be some curious guy or some curious force that wanted to know if Wang Sheng's current situation was fake and if he really couldn't adapt to it. Wang Sheng was now the most popular person in Carefree City, and everyone wanted to find the right opportunity to have a bite of him. Especially since Wang Sheng had just eaten 2 legendary fortune pills. It was said that it caused the miracle of Wang Sheng advancing 2 levels in a row. As for how powerful the fortune pill was, everyone had only heard of it, and no one knew. It was a good opportunity to use this collision to understand. The person who made the move was a veteran. This kind of probing activity had to be controlled well, not only to not get injured, but also to stimulate the opponent's true strength, and especially not to arouse the opponent's hostility. An ordinary newbie really couldn't do it. Not only did a veteran need to be experienced, his own strength also needed to be able to protect himself in case the opponent accidentally hurt himself. Even though they had already thought it through, but no one had expected that Wang Sheng's reaction would be so intense. Wrong. It wasn't Wang Sheng's reaction that was intense, but Wang Sheng's involuntary reaction. The person who made the move was also a 3rd-degree realm expert. Those who saw this scene previously thought that Wang Sheng was only in the later stages of the 2nd-degree realm, at most the peak of his strength. It was good enough that he didn't make a fool of himself. Who would have thought that this would be the result? The expert who knocked into Wang Sheng flew up involuntarily. The sound of his arms breaking had long been covered by his own miserable screams. His miserable figure flew over a distance of more than 10 meters and crashed into the thick bluestone wall of the assassin's hall. In the midst of the rumbling sound, who knew how many bluestones that were half a foot thick had broken? A large hole appeared on the wall, directly from the impact of the flying figure. The miserable screams that had drifted into everyone's ears had also disappeared in an instant. Needless to say, the person had either fainted or died. There were no other possibilities. Was this the power of the fortune pill? Everyone felt as though they had won the lottery. Chapter 189. There is no need to talk about the ability of the expert who probed him. Just the huge hole on the bluestone wall was enough to explain the problem. This was the Hall of Killers in Worry-Free City, and the sturdiness was beyond everyone's imagination. For so many years, there had been more than 1 or 2 people who had struck in Worry-Free City, but none of them had directly punched through the outer wall of the Hall of Killers. The degree of sturdiness was obvious. Even if it was an ordinary 2nd-degree realm expert, to punch through this wall, they would need a long period of chi circulation and concentrated all their attention to attack before they could do it. As for 2nd-degree realm and below, there was basically no need to think much about it. But what did Wang Sheng do just now? Everyone could clearly see that Wang Sheng had not done anything at all. He just stood there and took a push from the person who tried to test him. Just the rebound force and the expert who made a move had turned into such a state. The person who made a move was a 3rd-degree realm expert. What realm was Wang Sheng in? Everyone could see clearly that he was at most a 2nd-degree realm peak. Was there any 2nd-degree realm expert who could defeat a 3rd-degree realm expert? Yes, there were quite a number of them. For example, those who increased the number of aperture points by 8 or 9 per level would definitely be more powerful than those who only increased 5 or 6. Under such circumstances, it was possible for a 2nd-degree realm expert to defeat a 3rd-degree realm expert. But what about Wang Sheng? It was said that the number of aperture points he had was the least, and just based on his own grade, it was impossible to cause such an outcome. The only reasonable explanation was that the good fortune pill had brought about a change to Wang Sheng. The good fortune pill was a legendary pill, and no one knew what effect it would have after consuming it. Even the imperial physician who was invited by the imperial treasury only said that the good fortune pill could make up for congenital deficiencies. As for other effects, no one knew. But now everyone basically knew. The good fortune pill was definitely not as simple as making up for congenital deficiencies. It really had the miraculous effect of seizing the fortune of heaven and earth. This point was clearly reflected on Wang Sheng. Wang Sheng definitely did not have any more good fortune pills on hand. Who knew how many people were watching him consume it, and such a big movement could not be hidden from others. However, weren't there already people eyeing the 2 experts who had delivered the nature pills? Who cared if he was a disciple of a secluded sect? Since he was secluded, it meant that the sect was not too big. After greed stirred in their hearts, not to mention a small sect, even the 5 great clans would have their eyes on him. Some people had already left the scene quickly. They must have gone to deliver the letter somewhere. It's none of my business. Wang Sheng could only talk fast now. He could only shout quickly. In fact, no one would blame Wang Sheng for anything. The guy who tried to test the waters was unlucky and bumped into an iron plate. That was all. Someone would take care of that poor guy, but no one would bother with Wang Sheng. Now, Wang Sheng was very popular. Big sister, thank you so much. Wang Sheng turned to face Big Sis Rose again. Earlier, he had seen that if he had been pushed out, Big Sis Rose would have reached out to support him. This was a favor, and Wang Sheng would definitely be grateful. Big Sis Rose was stunned as well. However, she was quick to react. She pursed her lips at the direction of the cave and said, "He deserves it." Then, she turned to Wang Sheng and put on a smile. "What are you here for today?" "A mask to leave the city." Wang Sheng only mentioned it slightly, but Sister Rosa immediately understood Wang Sheng's meaning. "I know the best one." Sister Rosa rolled her eyes and suddenly whispered to Wang Sheng, "This is a secret here. Ordinary people don't know about it." A smile immediately appeared on Wang Sheng's face. There was always a good reward for being popular. Now, the reward was here. However, what was Sister Rosa's identity? How did she know the secrets of the Hall of Assassins? One must know that the secrets of the Hall of Assassins were equivalent to the secrets of the Carefree City's Castellan residents. It's just that the price is unusually high. Sister Rosa had just said this when she suddenly thought of Wang Sheng's net worth. She didn't even have the last bit of concern. She casually teased, "Pretend I didn't say that." "What's good about it?" Wang Sheng asked. Since it was the best, it had to be better than the average item. Wang Sheng needed to be clear when he bought something, right? The usual mask is just a virtual image to cover the original face. Experienced array masters can easily discover the existence of the mask. Sister Rosa didn't have much to do, so she chatted with Wang Sheng slowly. "That one is different. It almost completely blocks the aura of the array." Following Sister Rosa's introduction, Wang Sheng gradually understood the situation of the best mask. That was the masterpiece of an array master. It completely had the function of a virtual face, and the design was ingenious. It wouldn't emit any aura to be discovered by ordinary array masters. What was more amazing was that the mask wasn't a traditional mask. It was just a pendant, and at the same time, it had a certain protection function. Usually, one only needed to wear it with a necklace and hang it around the neck. When one needed to change the face, one could use spiritual energy to stimulate the pendant to achieve the effect of changing the face. It was very convenient. Just the wearing method alone was much more brilliant than those masks that needed to be worn on the face all the time. Especially the concealment and convenience. It was simply the best choice for Wang Sheng, who used to be a sniper. The disguise could not only disguise a new face, but it could also hide one's cultivation level. From the looks of it, he was just a cultivator in the 3rd stage realm. It wouldn't be underestimated, but it also wouldn't be feared by many people. It was very suitable for disguising one's cultivation level. What tempted Wang Sheng the most was not these, but the protection function it came with. Once it was activated, the part above the pendant would be enveloped by a delicate invisible protection array. It directly made up for the lack of protection on Wang Sheng's head and neck. "What did you buy it?" "I'll buy it." Wouldn't it be a pity to miss such a good thing? It would be better if Wang Sheng didn't know about it. Since he knew, he had to get it no matter what. "It's in the city lord's mansion," Sister Rosa pointed out to Wang Sheng. "If you haven't done anything to make the city lord unhappy, you should be able to buy it with some gold coins." The first thing that flashed in Wang Sheng's mind about the city lord's mansion was the Lord Butler. Since it was something from the city lord's mansion, perhaps the Lord Butler knew about it. He could just ask him when he went home to eat some delicacies. However, since he had come to the Killer's Hall, Wang Sheng wasn't willing to leave with just this one thing. "Sister Rosa, help me check if there's a reward for the Dai family's disciple." Wang Sheng knew that it was inconvenient for him to act slowly, so he simply asked Sister Rosa to help him check. It'd be best if it's the Dai family's higher-ups. It'd be best if there's one who ordered to deal with me, so that I don't have to kill for nothing. Chapter 190. The assassination of Wang Sheng by the Dai clan's death warrior wasn't news in the worry-free city. Almost everyone knew about it. It was also a fact that the Dai clan's patriarch was infuriated and punished one of the Dai clan's elders. It was said that the elder had sent a death warrior to assassinate Wang Sheng for no reason, causing the Dai clan to suffer a huge loss. Sister Rosa was naturally aware of this. Without a second word, she walked to the back of the hall. A moment later, she turned around and nodded at Wang Sheng. Yes, there are quite a lot of bonuses. Go ahead and do it. It won't be for nothing. Wang Sheng nodded and thanked Sister Rosa. Then, he slowly turned around and left the hall. Everyone looked at Wang Sheng curiously, but no one had the intention to make a move. They looked at Wang Sheng with envy and curiosity as he slowly walked back to the inner city. You took a risk today. Upon returning home, Wang Sheng saw the person he wanted to meet, the city Lord Manor's butler. As long as the butler wanted to know about the big and small matters in the worry-free city, he would definitely know. The butler must have received news of what had happened earlier, and specially waited for him here. It's worth it. Wang Sheng's movements were still very slow, and he looked extremely clumsy. However, the butler knew that it wasn't that Wang Sheng couldn't move quickly. Rather, if Wang Sheng moved quickly, his destructive power would be extremely shocking. Among the 10,000 people in the worry-free city, there would probably be 9,999 people who wanted to know about Wang Sheng's current condition. Since no one had eaten the fortune pill before, everyone naturally wanted to know about its effects. Even those who had eaten it before wanted to know if there were any side effects after eating 2 pills. Rather than letting them use all sorts of methods to pry for information, it would be better for Wang Sheng to openly reveal himself in front of everyone and let them see for themselves. This would save them a lot of trouble in the future. This plan was indeed, as the butler had said, it was extremely risky. However, to Wang Sheng, it could be considered as a way to solve the problem once and for all. Otherwise, he would probably never have a day of peace in the future. At the very least, everyone could see that after Wang Sheng ate the 2 good fortune pills, he had indeed risen by 2 levels. Furthermore, his strength was exceptionally valiant. Not only did he manage to send a 3rd-degree realm expert flying, he even created such a huge hole in the wall of the hall. Not only did it save Wang Sheng trouble, it also allowed Wang Sheng to have a deeper understanding of his own strength. At least against a 3rd-degree realm expert, Wang Sheng had absolute confidence. Since it was already done, of course, the butler couldn't say anything else. After reminding Wang Sheng to be careful, he was about to leave. Brother, I heard that the city lord's mansion has the highest grade of mask. Wang Sheng called out to the butler, just in time. Since they were so familiar with each other, there was no need to be secretive. He directly stated his request. It's a pendant. I want to buy it. I wonder if I can? The moment the butler heard Wang Sheng mention the pendant and the mask, he knew what they were. To the city lord's mansion, this thing was not very precious, but the butler could not help but smile bitterly. How do you know about this? The butler asked with a bitter smile. Before Wang Sheng could reply, the butler had already found the answer. Is it Rosa, that lass, who spouted nonsense? This time, Wang Sheng was even more curious about Sister Rosa's identity. Why did the butler speak in such a tone? However, the butler didn't seem to have any intention to explain Sister Rosa's identity. He only talked about the mask. The pendant that you mentioned, many people know about it. The butler smiled bitterly and slowly explained. This kind of mask was a treasure to the assassins who couldn't leave the city, but to the city lord, it was just a toy. When the city lord was playing when he was young, he placed this pendant in a 2-sided exquisite seal box. Later on, he accidentally lost the key. Because the city lord was already past the age of curiosity, neither the pendant nor the exquisite seal box was attractive to him. Hence, this extremely precious item to the assassins was miserably locked in the storage of the city lord's mansion to collect dust. Even if you get it, you won't be able to use it. The butler explained with a bitter smile. Let's not talk about the value of this pendant. Of course, it won't be a problem for you. But do you know the Grandmaster of the Pavilion of Delicacy? Without the key, if you want to open the two-sided exquisite seal box, only a Grandmaster can do it. However, very quickly, the butler thought of something and his eyes suddenly lit up. You know the Grandmaster of the Pavilion of Delicacy. Previously, when Wang Sheng was making the armor, it was the female owner of Bao Qing Yutang who invited a Grandmaster of the Pavilion of Delicacy over. The commotion in the carefree city couldn't be hidden from the city lord's mansion. If he knew a Grandmaster, he would definitely have a way to get to know a few Grandmasters through her. Perhaps Wang Sheng could do it. Since that's the case, it's not that I can't give it to you. The butler pondered for a moment and made a decision. I will go back and report to the city lord and send it over in the afternoon. The butler had learned his lesson from the last time and directly promised to do something that could definitely be done. However, you'll definitely have to pay the price. Although it's a little unkind, you still have to buy the exquisite seal box. Of course. Wang Sheng couldn't contain the joy in his heart anymore. He had opened the four-sided exquisite seal box before, so a mere two-sided exquisite seal box was nothing to him. However, this matter was of great importance, so Wang Sheng wouldn't expose his ability so easily. He had to get the item first. The butler was very efficient this time. In the afternoon, the butler sent the two-sided exquisite seal box over after Wang Sheng had told him about it. It wasn't that Wang Sheng didn't suspect that this was a test from the city lord's mansion. However, looking at the exquisite seal box, there were indeed traces of it being placed for a long time. It didn't look like a story made up on the spot, so he didn't think too much about it. Of course, it wasn't that Wang Sheng didn't have his guard up. On Earth, Wang Sheng had heard of many old tricks in the antique industry. It might be possible that there were similar tricks in this world, so it was better to be careful. In any case, when he was in Carefree City, Wang Sheng definitely wouldn't open this box. It was better to be safe than sorry. If this exquisite seal box was a test to see if Wang Sheng could really open it, and it was related to the Sure family's treasure map, it would be a huge trouble. However, since the box was already in Wang Sheng's hands, it was up to Wang Sheng to open it. If what Sister Rosa said was true, Wang Sheng wouldn't have to worry about his identity in the future. After that, Wang Sheng went to the Assassin's Hall to buy an ordinary mask, and then he focused on adapting to his new power. For a whole month, Wang Sheng didn't go out at all. Those who were watching him were about to lose their patience. Just when everyone was getting impatient, Wang Sheng left his house alone and went out of the city gate of the land of Thousand Despair. The two guards at the city gate repeated Wang Sheng's words and told him that there was no need to follow him. He was just going out of the city to have some fun and didn't intend to go deep into the land of Thousand Despair. Chapter 191. If it was any assassin in Carefree City, as long as someone wanted to keep an eye on him, they would be able to track his movements. Even if he wore a mask and left the city, it would still be the same unless there were hundreds or thousands of people covering for him. But Wang Sheng didn't need to. He directly left the city from the direction of the grounds of Thousand Extremities. Even if there were 10,000 people following him, they wouldn't be able to follow him. The area of the grounds of Thousand Extremities was huge. If Wang Sheng randomly chose a suitable place to leave, no one would know where to look for him. Those experts who had rashly followed Wang Sheng into the grounds of Thousand Extremities had once again reminded everyone of the consequences of following him into the grounds of Thousand Extremities. Now that they heard the guard's words, almost no one dared to follow him. It wasn't that they didn't want to give up, but when they followed Wang Sheng into the grounds of Thousand Extremities, they discovered that Wang Sheng had already disappeared without a trace. In the past, when Wang Sheng was in the first-degree realm, he had no way to shake off the expert's pursuit. Those fellows could track Wang Sheng just based on his aura. But now that Wang Sheng was in the third-degree realm, it was easy for him to shake off a few lousy pursuers. To Wang Sheng, the vast grounds of 1,000 Extremities was like a smooth road. The few pursuers who couldn't find any trace of Wang Sheng could only return resentfully. To be honest, the only thing that interested everyone was the ability to enter and exit the grounds of 1,000 Extremities on Wang Sheng. Most of the time, everyone treated Wang Sheng as a lab rat, testing the effects of their cultivation and pills. If one really wanted to talk about how important Wang Sheng was, in fact, the various forces didn't treat Wang Sheng as a necessary target. During the 1 month that Wang Sheng adapted to his new cultivation realm, many things happened outside. The two people who used the manifestation pill to exchange for the map that Wang Sheng retrieved from the grounds of Thousand Extremities, Old Wang and Young Master Feng, were in hiding for a period of time. They were hunted down and fought as they escaped. Finally, they managed to wait for an expert to rescue them. However, Old Wang's luck was good. He was seriously injured, but his life was spared. However, Young Master Feng was in a miserable state. He had a map in his storage ring, so he was the main target of the attack. By the time reinforcements arrived, Young Master Feng was already dead from his injuries. The pursuers snatched the map from Young Master Feng's storage ring, but before they could warm it, they were ambushed from behind. A group of people surrounded the map and started killing each other. In the end, the map was chopped into 3 pieces and was taken by 3 parties. The reinforcements were furious, slaughtering hundreds of pursuers in an instant, but it was only to vent their anger. He managed to snatch back 1 of the 3 maps, but it was too late to retrieve the other 2. All of this had been carried out in secret, but because Young Master Feng had changed his mind at the last minute, the city lord had been infuriated and released the news. Not as they exchanged for the map. They could. The map and Elder Wang were sent back to the sect. Then, the sect sent out experts to the carefree city to demand an explanation from the city lord. There's no explanation. The city lord didn't even bother to meet the people who came. He directly asked the butler to send a message. Aren't there still people alive? If you want to know the reason, ask them yourself. Old Wang was alive, but he was half dead. The sect had used up a large amount of pills to barely keep him alive. The sect already knew the ins and outs of the matter. They came to the city lord's manor for an explanation. No explanation, the butler said coldly. The city lord didn't even show his face. The city lord is the guarantor of the deal. How dare you change your mind midway? You only have yourself to blame. If you want to make a move, Carefree City is here. The city lord's manor is here. The butler's unyielding attitude directly represented the city lord's intention. There were only 3 experts from a sect. They wouldn't dare to make a move in Carefree City, even if they were beaten to death. They wanted to find trouble with Wang Sheng, but Wang Sheng's side wasn't easy to deal with. Before they could make a move, the sudden alarm from the sect forced them to drop everything and rush back to the sect. The reason Elder Wang was able to survive until his reinforcements arrived was not because his cultivation was high, nor was it because he was cunning. It was because his pursuers had shown him mercy. The ultimate goal of the pursuers wasn't just the map in their hands. More importantly, it was the location of their sect. The reason why Old Wang and Young Master Feng kept going in circles was because they couldn't shake off the pursuers. They didn't want to bring the pursuers back to the sect. However, the experts didn't think too much. In a rage, they killed over 100 people. After snatching back a third of the map, they thought that they had the situation under control. They swaggered back to the sect with the unconscious Old Wang. Thus, the location of their sect was exposed. These secluded sects had always been well hidden. They wouldn't move easily. They would only appear when something big happened. They had already become the sword of Damocles over the heads of the aristocratic families. Who knew when they would deal a fatal blow to the aristocratic families? This time, they finally used the matter of the pill of fortune and the map to lure one out. The few aristocratic families had a tacit understanding. They didn't reveal their identities to each other. They took advantage of the time when the 3 experts went to Carefree City to attack the sect. Hundreds of experts swarmed in, catching the remaining disciples in the sect off guard, and they were all killed. Not only was the third of the map taken back with great difficulty stolen, even the sect's warehouse was ransacked. All kinds of secret manuals and pill formulas were taken away. The pill of fortune, the most famous pill recently, had its pill formula made public. As long as the alchemists and aristocratic families had the ability and money, they could use it without fear of being found. The disciples who stayed behind to guard the sect were completely dead, and the sect's location was burned to the ground. All traces of the sect had been cleaned up. Even if the experts who rushed back overnight had great abilities, they would not be able to find out who did it from the pile of rubble. Before the three angry experts could prepare a bloody revenge, they were ambushed by experts from all sides. The three of them gave it their all, but they could only kill a few experts who outnumbered them by several times before they died. That was all. They didn't even have the chance to escape to Carefree City before they were killed. Not only this secluded sect, but also young Master Lu's family. At that time, he had proudly claimed that his family had the nature creation pill, but it had been overheard by more than one person. This had brought disaster to his family. A secluded sect and a secluded family were completely uprooted in a short month. They were killed without leaving a single blade of grass. Everything was because of the two legendary pill of fortune. It could even be said that it was because of Wang Sheng. Before this, no one knew that the pill of fortune could be eaten in this way. No one knew that eating two pills in a row would bring about such a great thing. Chapter 192. Wang Sheng knew nothing about this. Not to mention Wang Sheng, there were only a handful of people in the world who knew about this matter. The destruction of a secluded clan and a secluded sect didn't cause any ripples at all. Only a few lines of words were recorded in the core database of one or a few forces, and some secret books were added to the clan's library. After that, there was no longer any trace of their existence. Everything was for the sake of sufficient benefits. Fortunately, Wang Sheng's background had not been discovered by anyone. If someone found out which hidden sect he came from and found the location of that sect, it was estimated that Wang Sheng's ending would not be any better than those people. In the entire incident, only Old Man Wang had guessed some clues, but he did not dare to be completely sure. Unfortunately, by the time he completely understood, it was already too late, and there was nothing he could do to reverse the situation. Once the pill formula of the good fortune pill was announced, it became a hot commodity. There were many people who were willing to pay a high price to purchase it. It was unknown how many pill masters had started to ponder and research on it. Unfortunately, some of the medicinal herbs were extremely precious. Even in the imperial palace and various large families, there were only a few of them. This was why the good fortune pill was still an unattainable, miraculous medicine. It had not been reduced to a common item on the streets. Wang Sheng did not know about these things and did not pay attention to them. He was now in a safe place in the Thousand Despair, carefully making a trap. Wang Sheng had already obtained the information of the Dai family's elder, who had been punished from the assassin hall. According to the public information, the elder named Dai Wuji was already a 6th-degree realm expert 2 years ago. No one knew what realm he was in 2 years later. He might still be in the 6th-degree realm, or he might have reached the 7th-degree realm. Wang Sheng had not seen many other experts, but he had seen Ice Frost Li and the Shadow Old Eunuch in action. The power of their attacks made Wang Sheng abnormally fearful. Wang Sheng even suspected that even if he held a sniper rifle, he might not be able to do anything to the other party. This was the intuition of an expert. Not only did Wang Sheng have this suspicion, but even the combat consciousness of the dwarf felt the same way. In the arc space, Wang Sheng had thought about using a stronger longbow to shoot long arrows similar to a sniper rifle to deal with the Shadow and Frostly. However, the simulation result was a crushing defeat. It was useless. What Wang Sheng could confirm was that the sniper rifle still had some lethality to 5th-degree realm experts, but it was completely meaningless to higher-level experts. This made him even more eager to improve his strength. Wang Sheng wasn't sure if the sniper rifle would work, and he was also afraid of alerting Dai Wuji, so he became more vigilant. Wang Sheng only used the sniper rifle as his last resort. To deal with a fellow who could possibly be a 7th-degree realm expert, Wang Sheng had no choice but to think of other ways. The trap that was being set up was one of the methods that Wang Sheng planned to use. It was an indisputable fact that there were many powerful demonic beasts in the ground of despair. Many people thought that it was because of these powerful demonic beasts that the experts came in but never came out. In fact, they had overlooked many things. For example, man-eating ants, man-eating fish, killer bees, and so on. These were not very good individually, but there were large numbers of them. No matter how strong the demonic beasts were, they dared to rush up to them. Other than that, there were many invisible killers in the ground of despair. There were leeches that were silent in the water, poisonous plants that looked harmless to humans and animals, or small bugs that the experts would not even look at. What Wang Sheng had his eyes on was a kind of insignificant spider. The last time when he passed through the ground of despair, the combat consciousness of the dwarf had frantically warned him, but Wang Sheng could not find the source of the danger. Later, he found out that it was a spider the size of a soybean. That spider was so inconspicuous, lying on the ground or on a dead branch, it was impossible to see it. However, Wang Sheng had seen with his own eyes the entire process of a venomous snake being paralyzed after being bitten by the little spider. The spider's venom had left a deep impression on Wang Sheng, but the speed of its attack had also left a deep impression on him. At first, that small spider was obediently lying on the ground, but it suddenly jumped onto the back of the poisonous snake. Its speed was as fast as lightning. At that time, even with Wang Sheng's enhanced vision, he could not see the process clearly. He could only see the result. The poisonous snake's grade was not low. Although the scales on its body were not as exaggerated as the 1,000 illusion poisonous centipedes, it was not ordinary either. Wang Sheng had even tried to use an ordinary bow and arrow to pierce through its skin. But being bitten by such a small spider, the whole body was paralyzed. The spider's venom and biting ability were obvious. Extremely fast, powerful venom, and outstanding biting ability. This spider was simply perfect. The only problem was how to catch it alive. Spiders were very weak, and it was very easy to kill them as long as one was careful not to be bitten. But to catch it alive, it was much more difficult. At least for the people of this world, it was not easy. But for Wang Sheng, there was still a way. The people of this world certainly did not know that when the spider was in a place with a high concentration of carbon dioxide, its movement ability would be reduced, and it would even be paralyzed. Sometimes on Earth, when spider silk was needed, a mouthful of carbon dioxide would be used to paralyze the spider, and then it would be fixed to the silk extraction equipment. The spider that Wang Sheng chose liked to be brought in dark corners, and its detection range was not very large, only tens of centimeters. Wang Sheng carefully occupied a high point outside the spider's detection range, and began to take out the things he had prepared: a large bottle of vinegar and a little lime. He simply covered the mouth of the bottle with a horn made of leaves and bark, and then put the lime into the vinegar bottle. The acetic acid and calcium carbonate reacted to produce calcium acetate and carbon dioxide. This impure carbon dioxide flowed along the air-conducting pipe and slowly blew above the spider. At first, the spider did not have any reaction, but after a while, Wang Sheng saw the small spider lying on the branch fall to the ground. He had prepared a ventilated bamboo tube and a small brush made of hard grass. Wang Sheng extended it and easily swept the paralyzed spider into the bamboo tube. After sealing the hole, Wang Sheng placed the small bamboo tube into another large bamboo tube that was used for ventilation. There were a few insects in the small bamboo tube, which was enough for the small spider to eat for a period of time. After doing all this, Wang Sheng let out a long breath and put the big bamboo tube into his bag to store separately. This would be his trump card against Dai Wuji, and he only needed to see how to set up an ambush. After identifying the direction, Wang Sheng went straight in the direction of the Dai family's territory. When he asked Sister Rosa in the Assassin's Hall, many people heard about Wang Sheng's target. Perhaps the Dai family had already taken precautions and were waiting for Wang Sheng to walk into the trap. Chapter 193. Dai Wuji was one of the core elders of the Dai family with a high position and authority. Especially his own cultivation was extremely high. 2 years ago, others saw that he was only in the 6th degree realm, but as early as half a year ago, he had already secretly entered the 7th degree realm. Other than a few core members of the Dai family, no one else knew about this. What the outsiders saw was only an unruly elder who repeatedly went against the clan leader, arrogant and despotic, insufferably arrogant. Not to mention the outsiders, even within the Dai family, there were many people who thought so. Dai Wuji's temperament was irritable, easily angered and impulsive. Any slight provocation would cause him to explode. This had become a convenient point for many people to make use of, and many people were happy to see it happen. The last time when they assassinated Wang Sheng on the streets was because Dai Wuji had been provoked by someone who disregarded everything and sent out a death warrior to carry it out. Because of this, Dai Wuji had made an arbitrary decision which caused the family to suffer a huge loss. Hence, the clan leader was furious during the family's higher-ups meeting and confined Dai Wuji, not allowing him to leave. He was punished to guard the Dai family's ancestral tomb for half a year to cool down his temper. As for letting the clan leader of the Dai family and Dai Wuji's bloodline fight and kill each other, the Dai family wasn't that stupid. Dai Wuji's temperament was irritable, but he wasn't stupid. In actual fact, all those fellows who thought that Dai Wuji was easy to deceive and provoke did not have a good ending because they would always be found out later on. Dai Wuji himself was merely punished with a small punishment as a warning, but those who provoked Dai Wuji would usually either die in various accidents or be unable to recover from the setback and disappear rapidly. The real truth was if Dai Wuji was a fool, how could he easily sit on the elder's seat? And even sit for so many years without any mishaps? From the start to the end, Dai Wuji had always put on a stance of not being on good terms with the clan leader, but in actual fact, he had always been on the clan leader's side. The clan leader was very happy to see that Dai Wuji had gathered a bunch of family members who opposed him and was very clear about their actions. The clan leader didn't bother about the small squabbles, treating it as giving Dai Wuji a boost in reputation. Those who really threatened his position would be cleaned up before those people could even take action. Dai Wuji had to be punished a little every time, and everyone was used to it. It was the same this time, but it was not Dai Wuji's idea to send a death warrior to assassinate Wang Sheng, nor was it the patriarch's idea. Instead, it was the patriarch's son, Dai Huan's younger brother, Dai Xiao. After the assassination failed, Dai Wuji naturally became the arrogant and unruly Dai Wuji again, and was once again punished by the clan leader. All of this seemed perfectly normal, and no one would suspect that there was any conspiracy behind it. But the conspiracy happened within it. In the beginning, Dai Wuji hadn't been guarding the ancestral grave. Instead, he had secretly led a group of hidden experts from the Dai family to hunt down old Wang and young Master Feng, who had given Wang Sheng the nature pill. He had followed them to the location of the hidden sect and annihilated it in one fell swoop. During this time, there were a few other powers participating, but everyone concealed their identities, so no one recognized Dai Wuji. After successfully annihilating the hidden sect, Dai Wuji had secretly returned to the Dai family's ancestral grave. It was as if he had accepted the patriarch's punishment. Every day, he would burn incense and kowtow to the ancestors. The rest of the time, he would either cultivate or find some simple entertainment in the restricted area. When the news of Wang Sheng asking if there was a bounty on Dai Wuji's head in the Assassin's Hall, the Dai family and Dai Wuji's ears, Dai Wuji was so happy that he wanted to jump in joy. There was no entertainment in the Dai family's ancestral grave. Being in the ancestral spirit's territory, it wasn't good to bring a few gorgeously dressed women to have fun. Dai Wuji was so sick of it that he wanted to jump into the river. Suddenly hearing that some brat who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth wanted to kill him. Wasn't this just fun delivered to his doorstep? No one was more eager for Wang Sheng to kill him than Dai Wuji. Dai Wuji even started to count the days, asking the spies in Carefree City to send him Wang Sheng's whereabouts daily, so that he could have some fun. Wang Sheng had merely taken 2 manifestation pills, and he had become so cocky. One must know that Dai Wuji had wiped out the entire sect. Not only did he get the manifestation pills, he even got the pill formula. Back at the ancestral grave, Dai Wuji took a manifestation pill. Unfortunately, although the manifestation pill was miraculous To a 7th-degree realm expert like him, the effect was far from being as good as when Wang Sheng had taken it when he was in the 1st-degree realm. Hence, Dai Wuji started to wait for Wang Sheng in boredom. Who knew that he had waited for an entire month before Wang Sheng got used to the discomfort brought about by the advancement of his cultivation. He then went out into the grounds of Thousand Despair. Dai Wuji then started to count the days in boredom, calculating the date of Wang Sheng's arrival. At the same time, he started to anticipate how Wang Sheng would assassinate him. How should he deal with it so that he could have a few more days of fun? In order to lessen the difficulty for Wang Sheng, Dai Wuji specially sent all the top experts and guards by his side back to their base, leaving only a group of 3rd-stage realm guards by his side, quietly waiting for Wang Sheng to come knocking. Originally, Dai Wuji didn't even want the 3rd-degree realm guards, but later on he changed his mind. Even trash like Dai Si had a large group of guards by his side. If he, a dignified elder, didn't even have a few decent guards by his side, wouldn't he be able to tell with a single glance that he was a fake? What if he scared Wang Sheng away? Because of this, Dai Wuji still instructed those guards to pretend to be polite and not to be too vigilant, in case they scared Wang Sheng away, in case he wasn't happy. Because of this, he didn't hesitate to give these guards a death order. Even if they accidentally saw traces of Wang Sheng, they must pretend not to see it. Of course, the guards wouldn't spoil the elder's fun, so they naturally agreed. In fact, they themselves were also looking forward to having a good time with Wang Sheng. A barbarian who had luckily escaped into Worry-Free City actually dared to boast shamelessly about assassinating their elder. It was said that he was at most a 2nd-degree realm brat. If they didn't have some fun, wouldn't it be too boring? Elder Dai Wuji might be bored, but weren't they, the guards, bored too? Unfortunately, Wang Sheng had spent a total of 5 days in the grounds of Thousand Despair to capture that little spider. From discovering the spider to waiting for the right opportunity, he dared not make a single mistake. These 5 days of miscalculation made Dai Wuji extremely vexed. He had been waiting for Wang Sheng to arrive, and he had been waiting for Wang Sheng to arrive as well. He was so frustrated that he could not sit still every day. He wished that he could kill his way up to the carefree city, like what he did to that secluded sect. Luckily, he was still rational and knew that Worry-Free City wasn't that simple, so he forcefully endured it. The heavens didn't let down the painstaking one. Just as Dai Wuji was getting impatient, he suddenly sensed someone spying on him in the dark. A 7th-degree realm expert's intuition was extremely sharp. Dai Wuji instantly felt as carefree as if he had drunk a big cup of iced drink during the hottest days of the year. He had finally arrived. Chapter 194. Wang Sheng had indeed rushed over. However, he was still many days behind Dai Wuji's calculations. It took him 5 days to catch the bugs, but his speed in the land of 1,000 extremes was naturally incomparable to that of a normal place. Just the land of 1,000 extremes alone took him another 3 days. He had to take good care of the little spider along the way, and he had to conceal his whereabouts. Naturally, his speed was slow. By the time he reached his destination, he was 10 days late. 10 days was enough for Dai Wuji to arrange everything, and he was even getting impatient from waiting. The one observing Dai Wuji was naturally Wang Sheng. However, Wang Sheng didn't approach the Dai clan's ancestral grave. Instead, he used a pair of binoculars to observe from a distance. With his enhanced eyesight and the binoculars, Wang Sheng was able to see Dai Wuji's every move from 5 kilometers away. Wang Sheng had underestimated Dai Wuji's cultivation base and his keen senses. When his gaze lingered on Dai Wuji's body for a moment, Dai Wuji had already noticed him. He's finally here. Dai Wuji almost cried tears of joy. Was it easy for him to stay in a place without any entertainment? It wasn't easy to find a teasing fellow, but he was still so late. If Wang Sheng's eyesight was a few times stronger and he could see through things, he would definitely be able to see the expression on Dai Wuji's face. His expression was even more exaggerated than Huang Bo's when Sun Wukong tricked Tang Sung into removing the lotus seal in the journey to the west. You must be careful when you patrol. You must not let him discover that you've already discovered him. Do you hear me? Dai Wuji emphasized this point when he instructed the guards at night. The guards' expressions were also more exaggerated than the last. Their feelings were exactly the same as Dai Wuji's, but they weren't as good as Dai Wuji at discovering that they were being watched. However, Dai Wuji's words were definitely correct. That barbarian was definitely in the vicinity. Dai Wuji discovered that he was being watched, but he couldn't discover Wang Sheng's location. This made Dai Wuji's heart filled with indescribable joy. It had been a long time since he had such an interesting toy. No matter what, he had to play with it as long as possible. Under the careful observation of Wang Sheng's binoculars, the Dai family's ancestral grave's feng shui was pretty good. There were a few continuous mountains surrounding it, and there was a big river in front. The scenery was beautiful, and the mountains were on one side and the water on the other. It was a first-class feng shui on Earth. Foolishly trying to assassinate them as soon as they arrived was courting death. Wang Sheng was an elite sniper, not a low-level assassin. No matter what, he had to observe his opponent's movements and come up with the most suitable plan of action before taking action. Dai Wuji was pleasantly surprised by Wang Sheng's subsequent actions. Wang Sheng changed locations several times in a row, patiently observing Dai Wuji's activities every day. The more cautious and patient Wang Sheng was, the more Dai Wuji liked him. If Wang Sheng didn't care and found an opportunity to use his divine weapon to shoot him from afar, how boring would that be? This kind of battle of wits and courage made Dai Wuji happier. A guard had already informed the Dai family's clan leader, and the clan leader had secretly rushed over to Dai Wuji's side, advising him to be careful. It was just a small assassin. They could just send out a few experts to get rid of him. Please don't. Dai Wuji directly stopped the clan leader. I still have to stay here for a few more months, and I'm bored to death. It's not easy to find someone to accompany me to relieve my boredom. Don't kill him. That divine weapon of his is very powerful. It can behead someone from a few miles away. Of course, the clan leader wasn't willing to see anything happen to his top fighter and top spy, so he specially emphasized the power of Wang Sheng's sniper rifle. Do you think I'm a useless hoodlum, like Little Four? Dai Wuji rejected the clan leader, and in order to dispel the clan leader's worries, he had no choice but to reveal his trump card. Don't worry. The disciples in Worry-Free City have estimated that although that weapon of his is powerful, it can at most deal with a 6-stage realm cultivator, and that's without any armor. Lifting up his outer clothes, Dai Wuji let the clan leader see the inner armor he wore inside. The clan leader could naturally tell that it was the family's treasure. With Dai Wuji's 7-stage realm cultivation, coupled with this inner armor, even if the power of Wang Sheng's sniper rifle was doubled, it would still not be able to do anything to Dai Wuji. Dai Wuji knew about the power of Wang Sheng's sniper rifle, and so did the clan leader. Seeing that Dai Wuji didn't let his guard down just because of his high cultivation, the clan leader was relieved. Protect your head too. After reminding him, the clan leader didn't say anything else. Finish him off when you're done playing. Don't leave any loose ends. Of course, Dai Wuji agreed. After sending the clan leader off, Dai Wuji and a few of the smarter guards discussed for a long time and started to create an illusion for Wang Sheng. The conclusion of their discussion was that if Wang Sheng wanted to kill Dai Wuji, he would definitely sneak over from the surrounding mountains. No matter what method he used, he would have to get close to a certain distance. The most convenient way would be the surrounding mountains. Wasn't Wang Sheng known to be the most lethal in the mountains? How could he give up his advantage? It wasn't that he didn't think of coming over from the river in front, but the river was too wide, a full 7 to 8 miles. This distance was no longer something that could be crossed by any divine weapon. According to the Carefree City's estimation of the power of Wang Sheng's sniper rifle, the range was at most 5 miles. It had to be said that this estimation was definitely the closest to the real range. It was impossible for Wang Sheng to kill Dai Wuji in one shot from the other side of the river, 7 to 8 miles away. Not to mention that the range was not enough. Even if the range was enough, the power was not enough to kill Dai Wuji. In order to create an opportunity for Wang Sheng. After more than a month of research, the guards specially chose a patrol route that seemed to be meticulous, but had a few hidden breakthrough points. Every day, they pretended to patrol, waiting for Wang Sheng to sneak over from those weak points. As for the person in charge, Dai Wuji, Elder Dai, he naturally had to participate. He didn't need to patrol, but he didn't design the security of his residence to be very strict. As long as someone had the intention, they could still sneak in. If Wang Sheng couldn't even get close to him, then this assassin was too weak. If Dai Chonglao couldn't even play to his heart's content, then how could he? Therefore, Dai Wuji also made his life a lot more orderly, so that it would be easier for Wang Sheng to find an opportunity. Every morning, Dai Wuji would wake up to do his morning cultivation. After breakfast, he would take his fishing rod to a simple wooden pier by the river to fish. At noon, he would eat his lunch, take an afternoon nap, cultivate in the afternoon, read a book at night, and sleep. His life was a complete mess, waiting for Wang Sheng to make his move. Wang Sheng didn't let Dai Wuji's arrangements down. After observing from a few directions, he seemed to have finally decided on a direction to make his move. Chapter 195. Dai Wuji was getting more and more surprised. There were a few times when he was almost able to pinpoint Wang Sheng's position. However, Wang Sheng seemed to have suddenly discovered him and hurriedly moved away. After that, Wang Sheng became more and more cautious. The binoculars had a wide field of vision, but it couldn't see as far as a sniper rifle scope. Therefore, Wang Sheng switched to a sniper scope to observe from a longer distance. The more he observed, the more frightened Wang Sheng became. It had to be said that the defense system Dai Wuji had set up seemed quite impressive. It was almost impossible to sneak up to him and ambush him. Fortunately, Wang Sheng was patient enough. In order to complete a mission, Wang Sheng had followed a target on Earth for 2 whole months before he found an opportunity to shoot. Dai Wuji, this expert, made him feel like he was carrying out a difficult mission on Earth. Dai Wuji was excited, and so was Wang Sheng. Such a strong opponent not only brought joy and challenge to Wang Sheng, but it also raised his fighting spirit. The more it was like this, the more Wang Sheng wanted to kill this guy. Wang Sheng didn't kill people for no reason. However, this guy had sent an assassin to assassinate him on the streets. If Wang Sheng didn't return the favor, wouldn't it seem like he didn't know how to return the favor? Wang Sheng observed the patrolling routes of the guards for 3 whole days. Finally, he found 3 spots where he could sneak in quietly. As for Dai Wuji, the more regular his life was, the more opportunities he could take advantage of. As long as he found an opportunity to place the small spider on his path or where he slept, even with Dai Wuji's cultivation, he probably wouldn't be able to withstand a bite from a small spider. It had to be said that Dai Wuji was really a genius. He had never received firearms training, but he was able to leave 3 suitable sniping spots for Wang Sheng around his residence. These 3 spots were very suitable for a sniper's ambush in terms of height, vision, and shooting range. Moreover, they were not easy to discover. They were simply the ideal sniping spots. Even if he didn't sneak into Dai Wuji's residence, these 3 sniping points would allow Wang Sheng to successfully shoot Dai Wuji. In the eyes of Dai Wuji and the guards, if Wang Sheng were to use his sniper rifle, he would definitely choose these 3 locations. There were no other possibilities. In fact, even Wang Sheng himself thought so. Of course, the premise was that Wang Sheng planned to use a sniper rifle. It was a perfect sniping position. It would be a waste not to use a sniper rifle. The problem was that Wang Sheng was very clear about the power of his sniper rifle. He didn't think that the M200 could pose any threat to a 7th-degree realm expert at this distance. Therefore, no matter how perfect the sniping position was, he could only give up. Everyone thought that Wang Sheng would sneak his way up the mountain. Even Wang Sheng had thought so at the beginning. Therefore, it was understandable that Dai Wuji had been guarding against the mountain from all directions. After observing patiently for 7 to 8 days, Wang Sheng finally determined that the most suitable direction to attack was the waterway. It wasn't that Dai Wuji and the guards didn't guard against the water. In fact, They were very cautious. Every day, there would be 4 guards in shifts in this direction, constantly watching the water. On the calm surface of the water, there was no cover or cover. It was impossible to swim over without leaving a trace. Moreover, what could he do even if he swam over? Attack Dai Wuji from the water when he was fishing? Dai Wuji was most focused when he was fishing. As long as Wang Sheng appeared within 10 feet of him, he would be discovered immediately. Still want to attack? He would be lucky if he didn't become a fish. As for sneaking to Dai Wuji's residence from the riverside, that was even more impossible. This stretch of riverside was also barren without any cover, and the distance was long enough. More importantly, there were guards patrolling the riverside and Dai Wuji's residence. If he didn't want to be discovered in this open space, he would have to become invisible. Because he was so confident in the direction of the waterway, Dai Wuji and the guards focused their attention on the forest, which gave Wang Sheng an opportunity to attack. Apart from careful observation, there was another reason to wait patiently, which was to wait for the most suitable time. 4 o'clock in the morning was the time when people were the most tired, and it was also the favorite time for special elites like Wang Sheng to go out. There was no moon on the night he chose to go out, and the sky was a little gloomy. At 4 o'clock in the morning, it was so dark that one couldn't even see their own fingers. At this time, Wang Sheng went into the water. With a thin reed tube in his mouth, Wang Sheng quietly swam toward the simple and crude dock where Dai Wuji was fishing. Apart from a small section of the reed pipe, there was only a bamboo tube floating on the surface of the water. Inside the bamboo tube was the terrifying little spider. Wang Sheng paralyzed it with carbon dioxide again and put it in a ventilated bamboo tube. Living things couldn't be put into the storage ring, so the little spider had to be wronged. It was dark on the water surface, and the sound of flowing water covered the sound of Wang Sheng's little movements under the water, so he could quietly touch the dock. There were guards patrolling on the shore, but they didn't pay much attention to it. No one would think that Wang Sheng would come out of the water at night, and even if he came, they wouldn't be afraid. The small dock where Dai Wuji was fishing was actually a simple raft nailed together by a row of wood. Half of it was on the shore, and the other half was less than half a foot above the water. It was such a simple thing. Wang Sheng's target was this small dock. After a few patrolling guards passed by, Wang Sheng sneaked under the small dock, and no one noticed him. Then, Wang Sheng took out the remaining directional blast mine and stuck the side of the explosion to the bottom of the small dock. The directional blast mine itself was designed to stick, and Wang Sheng did it very easily. Then, Wang Sheng used 2 extremely thin branches to send the small bamboo tube to the small dock. The small bamboo tube was already connected to a wire, and Wang Sheng pulled the 2 ends, and the seal was opened. The intricate design allowed the bamboo tube to stand upright, sending the drowsy little spider to the joint of the outermost 2 pieces of wood on the dock. Wang Shenkai watched as the little spider landed on the crack. He gently pulled the bamboo tube and the cork into the water, leaving no trace behind. By the time the patrolling guards arrived, Wang Sheng had disappeared without a trace. It was so dark, and no one noticed that there was a small spider in the gap between the 2 wood at the front of the small dock, nor did they notice that there was a directional blast mine under the dock. Early in the morning, Dai Wuji happily ate his breakfast, and accompanied by 4 guards, he took his fishing rod to the riverside. After a few guards checked the surroundings, he carried a small wooden stool and a fishing rod and stepped onto the small pier. Chapter 196. Dai Wuji had a habit when he fished. He liked to soak his feet in the water barefooted. It was very comfortable, cool, and satisfying. There was nothing better than this. The reason why Wang Sheng had chosen this place was because he had taken a fancy to this habit of Dai Wuji's. From the moment he had stepped onto the pier, he had taken off his shoes, rolled up his trousers, and slowly walked forward. Yesterday, Wang Sheng had endured for another day. However, the patrolling guards had already discovered the traces he had left behind. They were near a loophole that the guards had intentionally left behind in the forest. It seemed like Wang Sheng wouldn't be able to endure it any longer. He would take the initiative to jump into this trap in the next few days. Dai Wuji was very happy. The comedy that he had directed was about to reach its climax. However, he was a little afraid of that day. After that day, there wouldn't be anything fun to do. After the climax would be the curtain call, and after the curtain call would be loneliness. How unbearable would that be? It would be best if Wang Sheng could persevere for a few more days. Dai Wuji had sensed someone spying on him as he walked over. There was no need to ask. It had to be Wang Sheng. This time, it was very strange. Dai Wuji had actually sensed Wang Sheng's position. If he hadn't been waiting for Wang Sheng to walk into the trap, Dai Wuji would definitely have extended his hand in that direction to greet him. However, Dai Wuji immediately restrained himself. This was because he realized that Wang Sheng was actually observing him on the other side of the river. He couldn't see Wang Sheng, but he believed that since Wang Sheng could kill people from a few kilometers away, he would definitely be able to see him from a few kilometers away. The reason why Wang Sheng dared to show his tracks so openly must be because of this 7 to 8 li wide river. Dai Wuji smiled. He scratched his chest as if he was scratching an itch. He felt the powerful defensive capabilities of his inner armor before he strode forward. After walking to the end of the pier, Dai Wuji placed the small wooden stool in his hands behind him. Just as he was about to sit down, he suddenly felt an itch on his leg. A small black spider had unknowingly jumped onto his leg. The dock was made entirely of wood and was extremely simple and crude. It was nothing new to have a bug or something on it. With Dai Wuji's cultivation, he would be able to detect these mosquitoes as soon as they got close to his body. Then, with a flick of his skin, no matter how fast they flew, they would be killed. The true meaning was that insects and ants could not be left behind. A small spider was insignificant. Dai Wuji flicked the muscles on his leg, and the small black spider flew off to God knows where. From the bottom of his heart, Dai Wuji didn't take this seriously. Just as he was about to sit on the small wooden stool behind him and put his feet into the water, Dai Wuji suddenly felt his legs go numb and itchy. He sat down on a small wooden stool and reached out to scratch it. After scratching twice, Dai Wuji suddenly realized that something was wrong. Why didn't he feel anything at all? Poisoned? Dai Wuji's heart skipped a beat. He straightened his body, and the spiritual qi in his body started to circulate. With his cultivation at the 7th-stage realm, no matter how powerful the poison was, as long as he used his spiritual qi to protect himself, he would be able to withstand it for several hours. Such a long period of time was enough for him to find out the poison and take the antidote. Due to his confidence in his own cultivation, Dai Wuji did not panic in the slightest. Just as he was about to call for a few guards, he suddenly discovered that as he circulated his spiritual qi, a strong numbness spread throughout his body. He could not even speak. The 4 guards in 4 directions suddenly saw that their master was behaving strangely. Dai Wuji actually maintained his upright posture and stopped there. He didn't even throw out the fishing rod in his hand. Just as they were puzzled, the 4 of them saw Dai Wuji's body fall straight down, and with a thud, he crashed heavily on the small dock. The 4 guards were all experts at the 3rd-stage realm. Seeing this, how could they not know that Dai Wuji must have fallen into a trap? The 4 figures were like 4 bolts of lightning as they scurried to the small dock. 2 of them helped Dai Wuji up without hesitation, while the other 2 guarded the surroundings as if they were facing a formidable enemy, afraid that Wang Sheng would suddenly attack at this time. Through the sniper scope, Wang Sheng, who was hiding on the other side of the river, clearly saw this scene. Dai Wuji's sudden stop and fall was completely within Wang Sheng's expectations. When a small spider awoke from its anesthetic state, it would definitely hide in an unfamiliar place. The gap between 2 pieces of wood was the best place for it to hide. If someone stepped on the dock, it would definitely attract the attention of the small spider. Especially when it was within 10 centimeters of its warning range, the small spider would definitely attack regardless of the consequences. This was its nature. Dai Wuji thought that his cultivation was so high that he could even flick away insects in an instant. However, this little spider wasn't to be trifled with. In the instant of contact, its sharp, venomous fangs had already injected venom into Dai Wuji's body. Even if Dai Wuji used his fastest speed to flick the small spider away, it didn't change the fact that he was poisoned. The protective inner armor he wore was useless. From the moment Dai Wuji stepped on the dock barefoot, he was already destined to be a tragedy. Looking at the 4 guards rushing to the dock and supporting Dai Wuji, Wang Sheng's finger pressed the detonation button on his personal combat terminal without hesitation. The directional explosive mine had already been switched to remote control mode. Separated by 7 or 8 kilometers, the sniper rifle's range was not enough to reach such a long distance. However, the radio waves were different. Wang Sheng had already adjusted the firing power of the personal combat terminal to the maximum. As long as it was within 10 kilometers, the detonation signal would be clearly sent out. Boom! The bottom of the small dock exploded violently. The remaining directional explosive mine unleashed a powerful explosive power, blowing up the entire dock into smithereens. The 4 guards, together with Dai Wuji, were caught off guard. Countless steel balls penetrated their bodies. In an instant, 3 guards were turned into pieces. One of the guards who was still alive was lifted up high together with Dai Wuji's body. Then, he fell heavily into the river more than 10 meters away. The loud noise directly alerted all the guards at the ancestral grave of the Dai family. In the field of vision of Wang Sheng's sniper scope, he suddenly saw at least 4 experts whose cultivation far surpassed the other guards. They rushed toward the river like arrows released from a bow. What a pity! It's too late. Wang Sheng shook his head and quickly put away his sniper rifle and personal combat terminal. He slowly got up and quickly left the place according to the escape route he had planned. When the guards of the Dai family rushed to the river, they were dumbfounded when they saw half of the small dock and the flowing river that had already been smashed into pieces. Blood and lines of blood flowed along with the river. However, they could only see 2 guards whose bodies had been smashed in half lying on the riverside. As for Dai Wuji and the remaining 2 guards, they had already been swept away by the river. Chapter 197. When the Dai clan's patriarch received the news, it was a rare moment of rest for him. However, as soon as he heard the news, he couldn't care about anything else and directly leaped up from the soft couch and asked in a stern voice, "How could this be?" The clan leader's face was full of disbelief and anger. Wuji is in the 7th-stage realm, and he is wearing the clan's treasure. How could a small assassin hurt him? Who is spreading this rumor? The sudden rage scared the clansmen who came to report the news so much that they knelt on the ground. The clan leader usually didn't get angry, but when he did, it was a disaster. He didn't want to meet the clan leader's wrath. The clan leader was after all the clan leader. After hearing the news, he calmed down immediately. No one in the clan dared to spread such rumors in front of him. If it wasn't a rumor, it must be true. Dai Wuji was dead. On top of that, Dai Wuji and the clan leader knew that there was an assassination attempt. Even the guard around them knew that there was an assassination attempt, but they still died. Wuji is heavily guarded. How did that barbarian assassin get close to him? Suppressing his anger and sadness, the clan leader asked the guard to stand up. He didn't get close to him. The guard replied hurriedly. How did Wuji die? The guard's reply made the clan leader suspicious. But now, he had to understand the situation and not pursue the blame. Elder Wuji, Elder Wuji. The guard stuttered and didn't dare to answer. Under the clan leader's gaze, he finally said, Elder was drowned. Nonsense. The clan leader raged. Wuji loved to play in the water since he was young. When he was 4, he could swim a few times in the ancestral court. How could he drown? This the guard couldn't say. When Dai Wuji exploded on the pier, a group of guards frantically rushed into the river to search for him. After searching for a while, a few of them who were good at swimming finally found the corpses of Dai Wuji and the remaining 2 guards. After checking the scene, Dai Wuji didn't die from some godly weapon. He was drowned. The guards looked at Dai Wuji's body and looked at each other. They didn't know what had happened. The guard who hurriedly reported to the patriarch only knew this much. He didn't know a lot of things that happened afterwards. The clan leader did not reprimand him. He quickly led the clan's experts to the ancestral court. A few experts from the clan directly took over Dai Wuji's body, and all the guards who were present at the scene were detained and interrogated one by one. As for the patriarch himself, he stood at the edge of the small pier that had been blown to smithereens, watching everything angrily. Before this, the guards at the scene had already figured out the cause of death of the 4 guards. All of them were killed by the steel balls exploding into their bodies. Those guards were only in the 3rd-degree realm and were not able to withstand the attack of the directional explosive landmines. 3 of them were blown into pieces, and 1 of them was in good condition, but his vital parts were hit by a few steel balls, and he died on the spot. Even Dai Wuji had dozens of steel balls on his body. However, due to Dai Wuji's profound cultivation, these steel balls were only embedded in his skin and inner armor. Not a single one of them was able to break through his skin. The patriarch held a steel ball that he had already collected in his hand and remained silent. Behind the patriarch, an elder and a forging expert of the clan were also examining the steel balls in their hands. How is it? Although he didn't turn his head, but the patriarch already knew the movements of the forging expert behind him as he asked directly. It's hard to imagine. The moment the forging expert said that, it made the patriarch's heart sink. How hard to imagine? The steel quality of these steel balls is extraordinary. The forging expert might have seen the patriarch a lot, and his own status was not low, so he naturally had his own style. Unlike those ordinary guards who would feel guilty when they saw the patriarch, it can't be forged without a lot of tempering. This steel quality, to use it to forge some beads, is really making a mountain out of a molehill. Other than that, the craftsmanship of these beads is no small matter. The forging expert continued, not only is it perfectly round and smooth, every bead size is exactly the same. I can't imagine how this was forged. The patriarch kept pondering as he listened and suddenly asked, could it be possible that this is the craftsmanship of the exquisite pavilion? If the exquisite pavilion wanted to forge it, they should be able to do it. The forging expert didn't think too much and directly said his deduction. To be honest, if it's just this bead, I can also forge it with some effort, and there's no need for the grandmaster of the exquisite pavilion to do it. How long will it take you to forge such a bead? The patriarch frowned. If such a magical weapon could be manufactured in batches, it would be a great harvest for the patriarch. About 5 days for 1 bead. The forging expert wasn't modest, and, at the same time, he answered without exaggeration, it takes time to polish it to this effect. But if it's hundreds of beads... The forging expert didn't finish his sentence, but the patriarch knew what he was talking about. Spending hundreds of thousands of days to polish these small beads, which could only be used once, was really making a mountain out of a molehill. It wasn't worth it. What's more, they don't necessarily have to be of the same size. A little smaller can also have the same power. But these beads are so orderly. I'm afraid it's not the work of one person. The forging expert's words made the patriarch understand that behind the barbarian, there might be a group of extremely perfectionist grandmasters supporting him. Beads were just beads. How to use them to hurt people was still a problem. What exactly did Wang Sheng use? Even the patriarch, elder, and the forging expert of the Dai clan, who prided themselves on being knowledgeable, had no clue. Just when everyone was frowning and guessing what weapon Wang Sheng had used, the person who investigated the cause of Dai Wuji's death finally came to a conclusion. It was the same conclusion as before. Dai Wuji had drowned to death. How is this possible? The patriarch couldn't believe this result at all. How could Dai Wuji, who could swim back and forth in this river at the age of 4, drown to death? Elder Wuji was poisoned before he died. An expert was indeed an expert. He immediately found something that the guards couldn't. Because he was poisoned, his entire body was paralyzed. He couldn't save himself after falling into the water, and that's why he drowned. Could it be that he died from poison? The patriarch still didn't want to accept the conclusion that Dai Wuji had drowned to death. This is a type of spider poison called black bean. It's very poisonous, But with Patriarch Wuji's cultivation, he would only need an hour of paralysis at most to force the poison out of his body. There was a poison expert among the group of people who examined Dai Wuji, and he found out the poison. If it didn't fall into water, Elder Wuji wouldn't have died. Chapter 198. It was simply the biggest joke in the world. A 7th-degree realm elder of the Dai family, wearing a protective inner armor, Wang Sheng's sniper rifle couldn't kill him. He wasn't his opponent in close combat. Long-range attacks had no effect, and even the poison couldn't be fatal. Yet he had died from drowning. How could he explain this? What clan leader couldn't accept was that if Dai Wuji didn't wear that protective inner armor, even if he was poisoned and paralyzed, he could at least maintain his position and float on the water. Those guards who came later had enough time to save him. However, it just so happened that Dai Wuji was dragged into the water by the heavy inner armor that he was wearing, which had great defensive capabilities. The guard on the water couldn't see him, so they could only search bit by bit. By the time they fished him out, Dai Wuji was already dead. Black bean spiders lived in some extremely dangerous forests, and the Dai family's ancestral court wasn't its habitat. Needless to ask, this was Wang Sheng's doing. It was the same with the exploding steel balls. That thing wasn't meant to kill Dai Wuji, but to blast him into the water. After clan leader questioned those guards in detail, he understood the process of Wang Sheng's actions. From a beginning to the end, Wang Sheng had never planned to assassinate Dai Wuji in close combat, nor had he planned to assassinate Dai Wuji from afar. Instead, he had prepared a black bean spider and placed it on the crew dock where Dai Wuji fished every day. The expert autopsy had already found the bite marks of the black bean spider on Dai Wuji's left calf, which once again proved that their deduction was correct. As for the black bean spider's origin, everyone knew it without a second thought. It must be from the 1,000 extremities. There was no other possibility. Wang Sheng had always been able to enter and exit the 1,000 extremities as he pleased. Other than him, there was no one else. What a terrifying chain of plans. What an intricate chain of plans. What a terrifying patience. After knowing the process of Dai Wuji and Wang Sheng's battle of wits and courage, clan leader's heart was filled with emotions. The fact that Wang Sheng was able to hold himself back for several days and observe Dai Wuji for a long period of time, finding a weak point in Dai Wuji's fishing and succeeding in one strike proved that he was a genius assassin. If such a terrifying genius killer had his eyes on him, anyone would shudder in fear. A 7th-stage realm expert was already a powerful expert who could run amok in the entire imperial dynasty. He could kill as he pleased, and he himself was at most at the peak of the 2nd-stage realm. How scary was that? On that day, the Lord Patriarch had doubled the number of guards by his side. Everyone in the Dai family looked as if they had just lost their parents. The usually arrogant Dai family disciples had also become much more low-key in their own territory. However, the Lord Patriarch was still enraged. Wang Sheng had provoked the Dai clan time and time again. If the Dai clan did not respond, how would they have a foothold among the 5 major clans? On the same day, Wang Sheng's kill order was issued by the Dai clan. Anyone who killed Wang Sheng would be rewarded with a reward of 100,000 gold coins. Godly Might Prison, Carefree City. On the 2nd day, the reward notice was issued. No one knew what the Godly Might Prison and other places were thinking, but the minute this reward notice was issued with Carefree City's mission, it was immediately despised. One must know that Wang Sheng had a long-term mission in Carefree City, which was close to 1 million gold coins to purchase the rebirth pill. As compared to Wang Sheng's extravagance, the Dai clan's 100,000 gold coins reward notice was simply a joke, especially when the reason why the Dai clan had issued a reward for Wang Sheng was spread to Carefree City. The entire Carefree City was in a state of jubilation. A 7th-stage realm Dai clan's elder, under heavy protection, was successfully killed by a 5th-grade killer from Carefree City. What did this mean? Especially when Wang Sheng's ability was merely at the peak of the 2nd-stage realm. It was simply declaring that the various large clans' pursuit for his life was simply a joke to Carefree City. All the killers in Carefree City felt honored for him. What an honor! What about the 5 great clans? The core elder was hidden under the heavy protection of the ancestral court, and he was still killed just like that, vented their anger. On this day, Carefree City's wine sales increased by a lot. They didn't know how the other killer organizations were, but at least the killers in Carefree City didn't accept this mission to kill Wang Sheng within a month. Many killers were forced to enter Carefree City, so they didn't have any good feelings towards these aristocratic families. Moreover, a mere 100,000 gold reward. They might as well let Wang Sheng off when they really had the chance to kill him. Wang Sheng might even give them more in return. Dai Clan's top exponents went out on a large scale that day, as they chased after Wang Sheng to kill him. However, even though they sent out many top exponents, they didn't even manage to find a single strand of Wang Sheng's hair. Other than Dai Wuji, no one present knew that Wang Sheng was hiding on the other side of the river. Without a direction to track, searching around like a headless fly was a joke to a meticulous person like Wang Sheng. By the time they remembered to cross the river to search, Wang Sheng had already left for a few hours. This wasn't the city gate of Carefree City's Thousand Despair grounds, and there was only one direction to enter and exit. A few hours was enough for Wang Sheng to disappear from Dai Clan's territory without a trace. When the news spread, the other powerhouses were in an uproar. But Dai Clan had been too arrogant for the past year, and no other powerhouses had any good feelings towards them. When they heard that Dai Wuji had been killed, there were many people drinking and celebrating. Apart from celebrating, everyone looked at Wang Sheng in a new light. Who would have thought that a second-stage Realm Peak Junior could actually kill a 7th-stage Realm Elder of Dai Clan? The Dai Clan had managed to keep the news under wraps. At the very least, no one knew how Dai Wuji had died. However, everyone knew that Wang Sheng hadn't used the divine weapon that he had used to behead someone from miles away. Numerous people were curious about how Wang Sheng did it, and no one knew the answer, even after racking their brains. Wang Sheng didn't care about the consequences after he killed Dai Wuji. Anyway, he had been chased by the entire world, so how could there be any worse treatment than this? After he saw Dai Wuji fall in the water, Wang Sheng didn't even confirm if Dai Wuji was dead or not and left directly. No matter if Dai Wuji was dead or alive, this action of Wang Sheng had already made everyone in Dai Clan have a sword hanging high above their heads, not knowing when it would behead them. Sometimes, not dying was more terrifying than being dead. Luckily, Dai Wuji was dead, and he died very straightforwardly. Wang Sheng had already found an escape route, and after trekking across several streams and making a few rounds in mountains, avoiding the populated cities, Wang Sheng started on his journey towards his second target. Following that, the place Wang Sheng wanted to go to was Exquisite Pavilion Shop, which was possibly the only shop in Exquisite Pavilion. Even if it was to put on an act, Wang Sheng had to ask Exquisite Pavilion's people to help open that 2 elements exquisite seal box. But he had just crossed a few mountains and rested for a while when he was about to pass through a valley when Wang Sheng suddenly stopped. There was a faint murderous aura here. Chapter 199. Killing intent was a very abstract concept, but what Wang Sheng felt, or to be more precise, was actually an intuition towards danger. The training that Wang Sheng had gone through allowed him to react as quickly as possible in the face of danger. Therefore, when Wang Sheng quickly jumped to the side, he had already put on a helmet and a pair of gloves on his hands. The helmet protected his head, while the gloves were made from the skin of a 6-star night star wolf to protect his hands. As for his body, ever since Wang Sheng entered the mountain, he had been wearing boots, an undershirt made from the skin of a 6-star night star wolf, and a liquid bulletproof vest. Due to the urgency of the situation, Wang Sheng did not have the time to put on his coat and pants. However, this set of clothes was enough to protect most of the fatal spots on Wang Sheng's body. After doing all this, a dagger that was dyed dark green pierced toward Wang Sheng's throat from a strange angle. Everything had been planned, even for Wang Sheng to jump to the side the moment he sensed danger was calculated. Wang Sheng could only jump to the left. There were sharp thorns on the right, and any living creature would instinctively jump to the left. However, the planner realized that all the plans had deviated. Wang Sheng had gone against his biological instincts and jumped to the right. Did he not know that there were thorns on the other side that would hurt his body and affect his vision? And yet, that was exactly what Wang Sheng did. He had trained countless times on Earth, and many of them were to overcome his biological instincts. For example, he had to keep his eyes open when he was ambushed and charge toward places that seemed dangerous but would only cause minor damage. Right now, Wang Sheng was doing exactly that. Therefore, a flaw suddenly appeared in the assassin's almost perfect killing trap. Originally, he only needed one move to stab Wang Sheng's throat, but now he had no choice but to charge. Just this slight deviation gave Wang Sheng enough time to react. He put on the goggles and grabbed the blade of the dagger with his left hand. His right hand could not be bothered to take out a dagger or saber, and he directly swung his fist. How powerful was Wang Sheng now? Wang Sheng grabbed the blade of the dagger. The six-stage realm knight, star wolf skin, and the protective array made it impossible for the dagger's blade to pierce through the seemingly thin glove. The attacker, on the other hand, was pulled along by Wang Sheng's immense strength and was involuntarily knocked into Wang Sheng's right fist. In an instant, the figure in the air borrowed the force from Wang Sheng's swing of the dagger and flipped in the air, stepping on Wang Sheng's fist. Bang! The fist and the leg collided, but Wang Sheng's punch did not land. Borrowing the power of Wang Sheng's fist, the attacker's right foot nimbly tapped on Wang Sheng's fist. His body bounced high into the air and quickly flew backward. Wang, the branches in front of him, suddenly moved aside. A 90-centimeter-wide giant wood, under the guidance of the sturdy vines, directly crashed towards Wang Sheng's chest. Wang Sheng stood where he was, not even bothering to dodge. Instead, he opened his right fist and turned it into a palm. Then he grabbed at the huge tree. The front end of the unknown giant wood was suddenly like tofu, easily grabbed by Wang Sheng's 5 fingers. Borrowing the force of this grab, Wang Sheng flipped his wrist, and the entire giant wood was grabbed in the air by Wang Sheng, as if it was made of sponge. His left hand supported, and borrowing the force from the collision, Wang Sheng swung it horizontally. The 8-meter-long giant wood was used as a long rod by Wang Sheng, smashing towards the slender and nimble figure in the air. The thick and sturdy vines that had been binding the huge tree snapped with Wang Sheng's struggle. There wasn't even the slightest pause in the process. Being in the air, the attacker could hardly dodge, but his body was really light. Seeing that the giant wood was about to hit his body, his left foot pushed hard against the giant wood, and his right foot took advantage of the momentum. His whole body changed direction in the air and flew rapidly towards the forest behind him. Wang Sheng's hand pulled back, and the giant wood suddenly stopped. He pushed forward, and the giant wood seemed to have turned into a red tasseled spear, directly stabbing towards the figure in the air. Rather than saying it was stabbing, it was more like Wang Sheng's 2 hands holding the giant wood and slamming it towards the figure. This scene directly stunned the attacker. Fortunately, he knew that this was a matter of life and death, so he did not stop and kick the section of the giant wood that was crashing towards him. Whoosh! A crossbow appeared in the attacker's hand. With one shot, 3 small crossbow bolts directly shot towards Wang Sheng's throat and chest. At the same time, the attacker's body had already used the force of another kick to bounce back even faster. At the same time, Wang Sheng exerted force with both hands and pushed forward fiercely. In an instant, the giant would seem to have become an arrow that had left the bow. With a whistling sound, it chased towards a figure in the air. As for Wang Sheng himself, he nimbly tilted his head and avoided the crossbow bolts that were aimed at his throat. As for the 2 bolts that were aimed at his chest, Wang Sheng did not even look at them. With 2 ding sounds, the 2 crossbow bolts hit Wang Sheng's chest. But that was all. They only bounced on Wang Sheng's chest and did not pierce into it all. They fell to the ground. In Wang Sheng's hands, an M200 sniper rifle had already appeared, and he pointed it forward. However, Wang Sheng did not shoot because he had already seen that the attacker had turned midway and instantly disappeared into the forest. Shooting would also be a waste of bullets. "Long-legged girl, I remember you," Wang Sheng shouted towards the forest. In a flash of contact just now, he did not see the opponent's face clearly. However, the opponent's spectacular leg skills allowed Wang Sheng to recognize the pair of slender and beautiful long legs. The attacker was the long-legged girl, Aki. Both of her companions had died in the hands of Wang Sheng. Although they were Wang Sheng's enemies at that time, this did not prevent the killer, Aki, from treating Wang Sheng as a mortal enemy. Back in Carefree City, she had been recognized by Wang Sheng at a glance and could not make a move. Later on, when Wang Sheng entered the inner city, there was even less of a chance. However, Aki did not give up. She had been looking for an opportunity and had even made preparations in advance. Finally, when Wang Sheng left the city gate of the grounds of Thousand Despair, the guard that Aki bribed at the city gate used the opportunity of speaking to spill a drop of colorless and odorless liquid on Wang Sheng. It was also through this drop of colorless and odorless liquid that Aki was able to track Wang Sheng's whereabouts. Of course, she would not be able to track Wang Sheng in the grounds of Thousand Despair, but everyone knew that Wang Sheng had returned to take revenge on the Dai family. All Aki had to do was to wait for the Dai family. Finally, Wang Sheng appeared. Aki was afraid that Wang Sheng would discover her, so she did not appear when Wang Sheng tried to assassinate Dai Wuji. It was only when Wang Sheng escaped that she used Wang Sheng's whereabouts to set a trap in advance. In the end, she still returned empty-handed. Chapter 200. Aki came fast and left even faster, disappearing without a trace in a few moments. Wang Sheng wanted to chase after her, but after thinking about it, he gave up on the idea. Wang Sheng was an elite sniper, and his rule of action was to find a way to complete his mission. The long-legged female assassin's sudden appearance was contrary to his current mission. If he chased after her, it would definitely affect Wang Sheng's journey to find the girl of his dreams, and Wang Sheng did not want to complicate things. Of course, there was still the most important problem. Wang Sheng's fierce performance just now was not without a price. After a strong performance, there would inevitably be a period of weakness, which was why Wang Sheng took out his sniper rifle. If he encountered the same assassination again, Wang Sheng might only have the ability to protect himself, so it was better not to force himself at this time. In addition, there was another important reason. The long-legged female assassin was very fast, so fast that Wang Sheng could not catch up at all. Wang Sheng's strength was strong enough, but his speed did not increase proportionally. After checking that there were no other attacks, Wang Sheng continued on his way, disappearing into the forest. After waiting for a long time after Wang Sheng left, the female assassin Aki and the other two companions returned to the scene. How was this possible? The two men, who looked like they were strength type, saw the scene of the 8-meter-long giant wood piercing tens of centimeters in a mountain wall and were stunned by the scene. The two men looked at this scene and sweated profusely. Even when they were setting up the mechanism not long ago, they did not sweat so much. This mechanism required the three of them to work together and use all their strength to barely hang up the giant wood. But in the end, it was played by Wang Sheng like a small wooden stick. Fortunately, Aki told them not to participate in the fight, or else they would not even have a full corpse. Such a huge giant wood. How could it be swept away? Nothing is impossible. That guy's a monster. Aki's face was covered with a black veil that covered her beautiful face. She was also looking at the huge tree and said with lingering fear. Her tone sounded normal, but Aki knew that her whole body was trembling when she had just escaped from death. The entire tree was more than 8 meters long and had a diameter of about 90 centimeters. It was estimated to weigh about 5,000 kilograms. The three of them had experienced this when they were setting up the trap. A weight of 5 tons was no joke. Aki had seen the old monsters in her family, and the strength of 1,000 pounds was no joke. There were even more exaggerated people who had the strength of 10,000 pounds. However, even though it was said that he had the strength of 10,000 jin, he could only lift something that weighed 10,000 jin in a stationary state. He was known to have the strength of 10,000 jin, but it was already his limit to swing half of a weapon that weighed 5,000 jin. Even this was reckoned to be done slowly, using the momentum brought by the weight of the weapon to attack the enemy. Moreover, the fellow who used this kind of heavy weapon must be a simple-minded fool. Normal people would not do this. Someone like Wang Sheng, casually swinging a 5-ton log horizontally while creating a whistling sound in the air, was simply unheard of. But what was the cultivation of those old monsters in the family? Which one of them wasn't in the 7th or 8th stage realm? What about Wang Sheng? Merely a 2nd stage realm peak. Facing Wang Sheng, Aki, who had experienced the line of life and death, felt it the most. That was really the line of life and death. When the huge tree that weighed over 10,000 kilograms brushed past her hair unreasonably and crashed into the hard mountain wall, Aki even doubted if her whole body was still intact. That was because she had escaped from death so many times, which made her climb that huge tree in time to block Wang Sheng's line of sight. Otherwise, whether she could leave this place alive was a problem. The two companions didn't know that Aki's ankle was already swollen, and they didn't know that she was stepping on a pile of debris, which was extremely uncomfortable. Aki's soul was punched by Wang Sheng and swept by the huge tree several times. Luckily, it was Aki who took the initiative to step out and didn't take it head-on. Just like this, the high-elasticity protective array, which Aki specially customized on the sole of her boots, had already been smashed. The 5th stage realm demonic beast bone plate, which was engraved with the array, had already turned into several pieces and no longer had the flexibility and elasticity of the past. Until now, her feet and legs were still faintly aching, especially that leg which had been punched by Wang Sheng. She was still limping when she walked. Needless to say, the dagger had been grabbed by that ferocious monster and turned into a fried dough twist. Could it still kill people? The poison on it didn't have any effect on that monster at all. This assassination could be said to be a complete failure. But everyone managed to escape unscathed, which was considered as a great fortune in misfortune. That's right, he's a monster. One of the burly men looked at the direction where Wang Sheng had disappeared and said with certainty. He had already boasted that he was the strongest among the same age group in the family. But compared to Wang Sheng, he couldn't even be compared to a child. What should we do? That tracking drug will lose its effect in another 10 days. The other burly man didn't participate in this topic, but asked Aki. The old fellows aren't willing to kill him now. Aki was very unhappy, but she had to admit that they were helpless against Wang Sheng at this time. Just a few of us alone won't be able to kill him. These words made the two burly men nod their heads silently. Their faces were filled with guilt. Among the three of them, the weakest one was at the 3rd stage realm initial stage standard. Adding them together, they actually couldn't do anything to a 2nd stage realm peak. Luckily, no one else knew about this. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to face anyone. Follow him first and slowly look for opportunities. I don't believe that he doesn't have any flaws. Aki was a successful assassin. A successful assassin needed enough patience. Just like how Wang Sheng could endure the loneliness and observe for several days without making a move. If Wang Sheng could do it, Aki could do it too. Unfortunately, the wish was good, but when it was implemented, it was far from that simple. After Wang Sheng experienced an assassination, his vigilance was greatly increased. Not only was it difficult for Aki and the rest to get close, Wang Sheng's actions were also not planned. Every time they thought that they would be able to block Wang Sheng in front, Wang Sheng would suddenly turn a corner and head in another direction. After a few times, the three of them didn't have the mood to set traps in front of Wang Sheng to block Wang Sheng. They could only watch helplessly as the effects of the tracking agent on Wang Sheng wore off, and he disappeared into the forest, never to be found again. Aki and the other two could only leave in disappointment. If they missed this opportunity, it wouldn't be so easy to find another chance for Wang Sheng to leave Carefree City. While the whole world was in an uproar because of Dai Wuji's death, Wang Sheng had already changed his appearance and appeared in the outskirts of the capital city. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.